What it do, what it do? How y'all feeling? Welcome to AshnielzRadio. I am your host, Ashniel. That is I. So, we talking to y'all. Yes, Ted Cruz. I am. He had an interview with Tucker Carlson, and the interview was very interesting. Now, I just tried to do the stream. I'm back. If you guys were here, sorry, but I'm back. Now, they discussed the Iran-Israeli conflict, right? But Tucker wanted to know, just like everybody else wanted to know, is the support for Israel that our government have, what is it costing us? Does it cost us anything? Now, Ted Cruz, of course, he's in his feelings, and he calls Tucker an anti-Semite. Well, he didn't call him anti-Semite, but he kind of implied it. And this was a very interesting conversation that went viral, and I want to go through it with you guys.
At the emphasis on foreign countries and the threat we supposedly face, a lot of which is fake, obviously,
Yeah.
over the kind of slowly unfolding tragedy of what's happening to our country. The dollars spent, the aid packages to Ukraine to pay the retirement of civil servants in a country that we have nothing to do with, the endless support for Israel, very expensive.
Right.
When people are literally buying groceries on credit in the United States, can you feel like it's nothing against Ukraine or Israel or any other country?
All right, let's stop. You said the support for Israel very expensive. How much support do we give to Israel?
Well, you tell me. You vote for it.
Yeah, it's about $3 billion a year is the military assistance.
Was that the only assistance?
Yeah, we just have military assistance. Israel does not have additional assistance. There's an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, and it's $3 billion a year.
So what is it costing to support the bombing campaign to protect Israel right now from Iran?
So I don't know right now, but I'll tell you this. Let's go back to the touchstone on foreign policy, American interest. Our support, our military support for Israel is massively in America's national security interest,
what does it
and
cost?
It benefits us enormously.
Well, before we can make independent judgments about whether or not that's true, and I'm certainly open to it, I think we need to know what it costs. So what's the annual cost of defending Israel? Do you know?
$3 billion a year.
No, that's the aid. But I mean, the cost of the...
Think about that. $3 billion a year, and that's just the aid. Now, why? Ask yourself, why? Why are we giving Israel $3 billion a year of our taxpaying money? And they the ones that got free health care, and we don't. And everybody don't agree. They don't align with the same thing some of these Zionists do. So why do we have to fork up our tax dollars to give them $3 billion a year? That's a lot of money, especially when we're in so much debt.
Weapons, for example, the cost of U.S. personnel there, the cost of moving ships to the region, which we're doing right now, the cost of moving tankers to the region, all of that. Do we know what the cost is?
So look, the last week, I don't know. And there's some lag when the administration, under the Constitution, the commander-in-chief has control of the armed forces. And so President Trump has made some decisions that we'll know the cost over time. But I don't know the last week. I don't have visibility on that. The annual cost is $3 billion. It's a 10-year memorandum of understanding, and that's the principal driver of the cost. But let me make a point. We get massive benefits from Israel. Israel shares the Mossad is one of the best intelligence sources on the planet. The enemies of Israel, the people who hate Israel, they all hate us. It's almost a perfect overlap. And so if we tried to recreate, if we're just trying to defend America, we tried to recreate the national security benefits of our alliance with Israel, it would cost, I don't know, $30 billion, $300 billion.
So can you elaborate again?
So basically, he's saying that we're saving money by giving Israel money. That's what he's saying, basically. If we didn't spend the $3 billion a year on Israel and their Mossad intelligence, then it would cost us $30 billion if we just did it on our own. Come on, Ted. No, I don't want to hear it. I don't care to hear it. And we need a full detail list on what intelligence we are getting for this $3 billion.
I'm going into this as someone who's always liked Israel and still does. But I also think at this point, given where we are, it's fair to ask rational questions about what the benefits are.
Good.
So does Mossad share all of its intelligence with us?
Oh, probably not, but they share a lot. We don't share all of our intelligence with them, but we share a lot. It's a close alliance.
Do they spy domestically in the United States?
Oh, they probably do, and we do as well. And friends and allies spy on each other. And I assume all of our allies spy on us.
And that's okay with you?
You know what? One of the things about being a conservative is that you're not naive and utopian.
Oh, no. $3 billion. $3 billion a year we pay Israel to spy on us? Come on, man. Don't do us like that.
You don't think humans are all... Part of the reason socialism doesn't work is the mantra from each according to his abilities to each according to his needs doesn't work. As a conservative, I assume people act in their rational self-interest.
Socialism doesn't work, right? Well, we have socialized police out here. We have socialized fire department. Socialism only works when Elon needs money for a government contract so he can have an innovative idea. Then all these bastards like socialism.
So it's conservative to pay people to spy on you?
It's conservative to recognize that human beings act in their own self-interest, and every one of our friends spies on us. And I'm not...
Do you like it? That's my question. I'm not asking whether they have motive to do it. Of course they do. I understand that.
And
by the way,
I'm not mad at them. But you're an American lawmaker, so I just want to know. Hold on. I want to know your attitude. You said that your guiding principle, in fact, the only principle, the only criterion.
I said guiding, the overwhelming. I wouldn't say only.
Is it in America's interest? Is it in America's interest for Israel to spy on us, including on the president?
It is in America's interest to be closely allied with Israel because we get huge benefits for it. And you want to see the clearest...
But I just want to stop on the spying for a second.
What benefits?
That it takes place, as you know, and including on the president of the United States and several presidents. And I just want to know if that's okay and why is it okay? Wouldn't an American lawmaker say to a client state,
right,
you're not allowed to spy on us? I'm sorry. I know why you want to. I'm not mad at you, but you're not allowed to.
Sure.
And I don't care for it. I don't want to be spied on by you. Is that... It's kind of weird not to say that, but you don't seem able to say that.
He's not able to say it.
Sure, I would say don't spy on us. They're going to anyway. And by the way, the Brits are, the Canadians are. Like, I don't think...
Well, I'm not for that at all. I think it's disgusting. But we don't actually pay
their... do it.
We're not their most meaningful sponsor. We're not sort of paying for the operations of the British government.
I gotta say, and this is, it's weird. We're talking about isolationists, the obsession with Israel. Why is Israel...
I don't think I'm obsessed with Israel.
Okay, but I think a lot of people are. And like the question, Israel spies on us. Well, so does every other country. Why are you mad at Israel?
I guess... No.
He just said that we're not funding it. We're not sponsoring the Brits and the Canadians to spy on us. We are giving Israel $3 billion a year, and they are spying on us. I think that's what he's saying.
Well, I'm hardly the one who's... I've never taken money from the Israel lobby. Have you?
Taken money from the Israel...
From AIPAC.
Have you?
So AIPAC raises a lot of money for me, but it's actually a misnomer because the people who raise money are individuals. Right. So it's not the PAC itself, but they're individual members who believe in the American-Israeli friendship and relationship.
Is AIPAC a foreign lobby?
No, it's an American lobby. It's the AIPAC stands for the America-Israeli Political Action Committee.
What does it lobby for?
So, to be honest, not a whole lot effectively. Listen,
God,
I came into Congress 13 years ago with the stated intention of being the leading defender of Israel in the United States Senate. And I've worked every day to do that.
Why?
AIPAC, a lot of times, AIPAC, I wish were much more effective. Like, there are folks online who are in the fever swamp of terrified of AIPAC, and AIPAC...
I'm not terrified of AIPAC at all. You're the one who seems a little uncomfortable when I'm asking.
No, not uncomfortable at all.
I'm just asking what AIPAC does. My understanding, having known a lot of people who work at AIPAC, is that it lobbies on behalf of the Israeli government.
Wrong.
Oh,
really?
Okay.
America has thousands of colleges and universities, and a lot of them, unfortunately,
what are they doing if they're not
scams.
lobbying for Israel? What are they doing? And you're going to see he's going to end up saying lobby, but why are we giving them $3 billion a year, first of all? And then AIPAC is spending millions of dollars to unseat a lot of our politicians. Why is that? Why is that a thing? Why is it when an American-born citizen decides to run for office, AIPAC, if this American citizen has a different view of AIPACs, they will spend millions of dollars to run in opposition and get that person up out of here? So how is that an American first organization? We don't think so. And neither does Tucker Carlson. And the way that he's asking Ted Cruz, like, hey, what's the deal? How much is this relationship with Israel costing us? And Ted Cruz is uncomfortable with these questions.
Prime Minister Netanyahu.
All the time.
Name one.
Okay. Let me go back and give a little history. If you want to do a deep dive on AIPAC,
I don't. I want to do a shallow dive that gets.
No.
I want to get to the core question. AIPAC is lobbying for a foreign government, and I don't. It's not.
No,
it's
it's not a deep dive, a shallow dive.
It is lobbying for a strong U.S.-Israeli relationship.
Okay,
and
it has nothing to do with the foreign government.
It wants America and Israel to be closely allied.
Okay, but it's lobbying on behalf of the interests of another country.
So that's not true at all. And if
it's not true.
No.
How much contact do you think AIPAC leaders have with the government of Israel?
No idea. I imagine some. I think the government of Israel is often frustrated with AIPAC because AIPAC's not nearly strong enough.
Do you think there's any coordination between the government of Israel and AIPAC?
Do they talk? Sure. If you're lobbying for more U.S.-Mexico trade, would you talk to people in the U.S. and Mexico and the government? Sure.
So I'm not mad about that. There are a million countries that lobby Washington. I like a lot of those countries, including Israel.
But AIPAC are Americans. They're not Israelis.
Hold on. There are tons of Americans who lobby on behalf of foreign governments. I know them. I'm related to some of them. I know how it works. I'm from here. So my question is not, is it outrageous that foreign governments lobby the United States? They all do, okay, including Israel. My only question is, why don't we admit that is what's happening? You're denying it, but it's true.
Yeah, and why
aren't they registered as a foreign lobby?
Because they're not.
They're not a foreign lobby.
No, they're not. And this is that there's a fever swamp. Look,
it's not a fever swamp. These are very reasonable questions, and you've accused me of being obsessed with Israel, which I'm not.
I actually haven't. I've said
isolationist. And being feverish about it, which I'm not at all. I find it's a very tender spot when you ask it, and I don't know why.
Right.
So, Tucker,
why are you getting uncomfortable, Ted?
All right, let's go back. I was first elected to the Senate in 2012. I came in Obama's second term. And I actually saw AIPAC be badly wounded in a way they never came back from. And the second term is when Obama did the Iran nuclear deal.
Yes, that's a whole lot of money.
And the Iran nuclear deal, I think, was catastrophic. And AIPAC went all in lobbying against it.
Yeah.
And they failed. And I was the leading opponent of the Iran nuclear deal.
Oh, I know. They definitely failed, yes.
They failed. And what happened, the Obama White House told every Democrat, when I got here, there used to be real bipartisan support for Israel. That has largely disappeared.
Hold on.
And it's the Obama nuclear deal that caused it, because the Obama White House told every Democrat, pick. You either stand with Israel or you're a Democrat and you stand with the Obama White House. And almost every single Democrat member.
And I think that's the question. I think that's the question Tucker's asking. Why, before Obama, did we align with Israel so hard? Like, what is it? Are they a lobby group? What is it? Talk to us. Because you just admitted it, that the support for Israel was heavy before Obama came in, and he messed it up. Okay, granted. Why? And how much is it costing us? I know it's more than that $3 billion. Come on, Ted. Come on, Ted. Talk to us, Ted.
Congress said, I'm a Democrat first, to hell with Israel. And then I watched as AIPAC,
hell yeah, Tucker working.
Every one of those Democrats got reelected, and AIPAC did nothing about it. And it dramatically reduced AIPAC's influence.
I agree. I watched it happen.
And by the way, I told AIPAC, I said, look, the analogy, if the NRA was supporting a bunch of politicians and cared about the Second Amendment, and you had politicians that vote to confiscate people's guns, and the NRA turned around and raised money for the people who voted to confiscate guns, you know what? No one would ever care what they said again.
So you're...
Wait a minute. I think the NRA has supported candidates who were opposed of, or who were pro-gun laws. That happened a lot of times First of all. Second of all, the NRA is a American company. So, or organization. So if they wanted to spend money for their Second Amendment interests, it's not a problem. They don't have to register as a foreign agent like Israel. But for you to use that as an example, like, Teddy, you're fueling Teddy, what they got on you? I know they got something on you, Ted.
You're making the case that AIPAC is not as powerful as people say it is, and I completely agree with you. I've watched that, and I'm not making the case that AIPAC is all powerful.
Way too much influence on
everything and putting fluoride in the water. I'm not making that case at all, because that's not true.
It's crazy.
I'm only trying to get to the question of what AIPAC is, and I don't think you're being straightforward about it. AIPAC is
He's not
lobbying on behalf of the interests of a foreign country, and they're not registered. And you're saying, no, that's not true. You're saying that they don't coordinate with the Israeli government.
Of course, I coordinate. They talk with them. I don't know what they do. I can
but
tell
why don't you care? Isn't it meaningful if a foreign government...
Hey, I talk with Israel all the time.
Of course you do.
With
of course you do.
countries all the time.
But the law is, and a lot of people have been prosecuted under this law, that if you are lobbying on behalf of foreign government, you must register. That's it. It's really simple. And I don't know why, if I'm...
That's it. Teddy.
Oh, before you...
Teddy, why are you getting so defensive, bro? That's all he's asking. Why won't they register? That's all.
Malaysia or Qatar or Belgium... And I'm working on behalf of its government's interests through a group of Americans who are representing the friendship between those two nations. I have to register under the Foreign Agent Registration Act, and if I don't, I can go to jail. And people have gone to jail, including people I know. So I don't understand why we don't just be honest and say they're lobbying on behalf of a foreign government, they're coordinating with the government. You know that that's true.
That is not only not true, that is false.
They're not coordinating with the Israeli government?
Do you know how AIPAC raises money?
It's not true. It's not only true, it's false. Is it also a lie or something? What did he thought he ate with that? Did he give it more power because he said it's false? I don't know. I thought they were the same thing. I could be tripping.
What?
For elected officials, like what they do, like what the actual mechanics is?
Yeah, I mean, they go to people who are sympathetic to Israel and raise money and then send it to candidates who agree with them.
So what they'll do is, in my last election, AIPAC endorsed me. And they'll host a fundraiser. And they'll host a fundraiser in Dallas or Houston or Atlanta or New York or LA. And they'll do a fundraiser and they'll get some.
He just said at his last little gathering, AIPAC endorsed him. But first he said, oh, no, not directly. I get my endorsements from like little people individually through AIPAC. Oh, Ted. Oh,
someone
Teddy.
who will host it, and it's usually a business owner, lawyer, doctor, someone who hosts it. And you get typically at an AIPAC fundraiser 30, 40, 50, maybe 100 people who live in that city.
Right.
Who care about a strong U.S.-Israel relationship. Yeah. And if they have, 50 people, each of them writes a $1,000 check. And you raise $50,000.
Yeah, I've been to an AIPAC fundraiser. I know what it looks like.
But that is not. And by the way, there's no representative of the Israeli government there. You have when you're in Dallas, you're meeting with.
This is such a false and silly conversation. I know all this. The question is are AIPAC's goals shaped by the goals of the Israeli government to any extent?
Right.
Okay, that's
a really
different
simple
from
question.
lobbying on behalf of.
It's a simple question. Are AIPAC's goals shaped by the goals of the Israeli government? And I'm just going to ask you a question straightforwardly. And if you say no, I think we both know that's not true.
Hey, are they shaped by?
Are they coordinating with the Israeli government?
Are they talking with them? Yes.
Is Israel
directing them? You want to talk about FARA? The law on lobbying on behalf of someone.
Yeah.
It is, I hire you and you lobby on behalf of me. I direct you. Does Israel direct AIPAC? No, they are not lobbying on behalf of them.
Getting mad.
Do they care about them? Yes, but...
Do you think that... It's just interesting because what you're now describing
they care about them, I think,
in a very defensive way, I will say, is...
Very defensive.
...foreign influence over our politics.
No.
And you began, and it's so transparently obvious to everybody... I don't know why you would be embarrassed of it. You've said that you are sincerely for Israel. I believe you. I don't think you have some weird agenda. You seem to be sincere.
By the way, Tucker, it's a very weird thing. The obsession with Israel. When we're talking about foreign countries,
it's hardly an obsession.
You're not talking about Chinese. You're not talking about Japanese. You're not talking about the Brits. You're not talking about the French. The question, what about the Jews? What about the Jews?
Oh, I'm an anti-Semite now.
Senator, you're asking the question,
just
Tucker.
told me.
You're asking, why are the Jews controlling our foreign policy?
Senator,
that's what you just asked.
Hardly saying that, and I have.
That is exactly what you just said.
Well, actually, I can speak for myself and
That's,
tell you what I am.
That's not what he's saying. That's not what he said. He just want to know why people like you pledge allegiance to Israel when you took up this job to be a congressman. You said that yourself, and he just want to know why. Why? That's not a. It's not a problem to ask that question, but for you to sit here and imply that he's an anti-Semite and all this other stuff, you're losing the argument in front of everybody. And I think that's why this shit went viral. And Ted, we're going to find out. There's going to be some internet trolls and investigators that are going to do some homework. And they're going to see how your Israeli relation is and what y'all are tied up and entangled with. And I bet you it come out. Oh, it's going to come out, yes.
I'm sad.
Good.
On behalf not simply of myself, but of my many Jewish friends who would have the same questions, which is to what extent, and it's interesting you're trying to derail my questions by calling me an anti-Semite, which you are.
I did not.
Of course you are. And rather than be honorable enough to say it right to my face, you are in a sleazy feline way implying it, or just asking questions about the Jews. I'm not asking questions about the Jews.
Right.
There's nothing to do with Jews or Judaism. It has to do with the foreign government.
Isn't Israel controlling our foreign policy? That's not about the Jews?
You said, I'm asking you...
And by the way, you're the one that just called me, I think, a sleazy feline. So let's be clear.
It's sleazy to imply that I'm an anti-Semite, which you just did.
No, I just said, why is that the only question you're asking? You answer it. Give me another reason. If you're not an anti-Semite, give me another reason why the obsession is Israel.
I am in no sense obsessed with Israel. We are on the brink of war with Iran. And so these are valid questions.
But you're not asking about Iran or the
If I can finish, you asked me.
Damn. He getting in his feelings. Yes, he's getting in his feelings.
Why I'm obsessed with Israel.
Yep.
3 minutes after telling me that when you first ran for Congress, you elucidated one of your main goals, which is to defend Israel.
Yes.
And I'm the one who's obsessed with Israel. I don't see a lawmaker's job as defending the interests of a foreign government, period. Okay. Any government, including the ones that my ancestors come from. So that's my position. That does not make me an anti-Semite.
Like, then weren't you there for Texans? Why is it that you were going to be there as a Texas lawmaker for Israel? You're pledging to support Israel and put Israel interests first before Texans and Americans. That's what you said. So that's why we're asking the question about this AIPAC group and this lobbying and how much power do they have over people like you. So yes, people are doing homework right now, trying to figure out what AIPAC had on you.
Shame on you for suggesting otherwise, and I mean that. And that's low, and you know it's low. So why don't you just answer my questions in a straightforward, rational way? You certainly have the IQ to do it.
So shame on you is cute, by the way, Tucker.
It is. It's not cute. I'm offended. I'm obsessed with the Jews. You just told me
you just called me a sleazy feline.
It is sleazy to imply that I'm an anti-Semite for asking questions about how my government is run.
You want to count how many questions you asked about? What about the Jews? What about Israel? What about AIPAC?
I never asked about the Jews.
You didn't.
This has nothing to do with the Jews, whatever that means.
He didn't.
This has to do with a foreign government. And once again, shame on you.
See? That's what they do. They tie it together. They said everybody's being critical on the Israeli government. In America, politicians like Ted will call that anti-Semitic. They tie criticism of the Israeli government to criticism of the Jewish people. And people are tired of it. People are done. They're like, no, not once did Tucker utter Jews. He didn't say nothing about the Jews. But immediately, that's where Ted goes. Oh, you just don't like the Jews, huh? What? No, it ain't working. And you're embarrassing yourself.
You for conflating the two. They have nothing to do with each other. I'm talking about the influence of
Israel and Jews have nothing to do with each other?
All Jews, or an attack on all Jews, which I am not, nor would I ever be undertaken. Now, I'm not attacking anybody.
By the way, that's who Iran wants to kill, is all the Jews and all the Americans.
And I'm totally opposed to that, okay? But now, because
except you don't want to do anything about it.
Decisions need to be made.
We can talk about those decisions.
And I plan to.
Good.
But I just want to get a sense of whether you think, having described yourself as an America First person whose only criterion for judgment on foreign policy is America's national interest, to what extent you're influenced by a foreign government, which gives you a lot of money through its lobby, and you're claiming this has nothing to do with the foreign government. They're not coordinating. Yes, they're spying on us, but it doesn't bother you. And I'm sort of wondering, like, what is this? This is one of the weirdest conversations I've ever had.
I'll tell you what, and I'll answer any question you like, but let's try to...
Are you going to call me an anti-Semite again, or no?
Let's try to ratchet down the temperature.
You're
the one who went to motive. I'm asking honest questions.
I'm
just asking questions. Yes, that's it. That is what I'm doing.
Let's try to ratchet down the temperature.
Ratchet it down.
Picture the house of your dreams. Maybe it's got an outdoor.
It's getting a little out of hand here, buddy. Let's tone down the temperature. So yes, most of these pro-Israeli supporters, they only have one trick. That's it. When people are asking them valid questions, the first thing they go to is, "You're a Jew hater. You're an anti-Semite." And we all know that word anti-Semitic has been weaponized and is losing its fucking importance and its power, because you can't just call people anti-Semitic no more and then it means something. But the question is, why? Why would we have valid questions, valid critique? Is that your go-to? You hate our people. Whoa, shit. Hey, nah, I just want to know why we can't get free health care out here, but y'all can get free health care out there, but we pay y'all $3 billion. Why? That's anti-Semitic.
No.
It's a great movie. It's actually a fun comedy about politics, and Eddie Murphy in the movie is a con man who gets elected to Congress, and he's literally a con man who... The congressman dies, he has the same name, and so he runs and they get elected. And there's a scene in the movie where Eddie Murphy is a freshman member of Congress, and he's sitting down with a sleazy lobbyist. And he's asking the lobbyist, all right, what should my positions be on, I think they were talking about power plants and electrical transmission lines.
That sounds like our American
And
Congress.
the lobbyist's like, well, what do you believe? And Eddie Murphy, as the con man, said, I don't care, whatever gets me the most money. I'll do whatever gets me the most money. And the lobbyist says, no. Pick a side. Doesn't matter what you pick. If you pick one side, we'll go shake down everyone who supports that side and they'll give you money. If you pick the other side, that's fine. We'll just go to the other side and shake down that. That's a little bit the way it works. And you often get leftists in the media who say, for example, if you support the Second Amendment, as you do and I do, well, you're just bought and paid for by the NRA. And that actually is backwards. Yeah. I believe in the Second Amendment because I believe in the Constitution. Now, am I proud that the NRA supports me? Sure, because people who care about the Second Amendment.
If I'm not mistaken, in the same interview, Tucker said, or Ted said, y'all act like the NRA. Or he said, what if the NRA was paying politicians? How would y'all feel about that? I had to pause the video and say, the NRA does pay politicians. Fast forward later in this video, he admits that the NRA had funded him. Yeah. Oh my God. These robots, I swear to God, he's falling apart. He's falling apart and he know he is. Fucking A.
Want to support leaders who fight for it. But it gets it backward. Look, AIPAC, when I ran for the Senate, AIPAC didn't support me. I supported Israel before they supported me. I'm happy to have their support because they share my objective.
No, but you're missing it. I'm not suggesting that you're bought and paid for. I'm not
put
saying
on his little hat.
Actually, I want to go back and take
sincere.
I want to go back and take the transcript.
He almost looked like he had that little hat on, don't it? Don't it look like he almost got one of them little Jewish hats on right now? Like you can kind of see it, but not. But yeah. Oh shit! Put that hat on.
Because you just said a minute ago, are you? I'm slightly paraphrasing, but are you lobbying for a foreign government because they pay you a lot of money? That's basically what you said. So you are suggesting.
Let me just be clear about what I think. Your views seem totally sincere.
Yes.
You take money from people who agree with you.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I
even take money from people who disagree with me.
I'm only trying to get to the question of to what extent is the U.S. government influenced by other governments? And it's a lot.
Of course.
It's hardly just Israel. It's hardly just Israel. I don't think Israel's the main one. There are lots of governments. China is a massive influence on this.
Yeah,
scene.
he looked like he did.
As you know, I couldn't agree more. And there are lots of other. The UK, which is a truly sinister place, in my opinion, as a ethnic Brit, I can say. I think that's my view. Maybe you disagree.
I think they're on the wrong path. I love
Whatever,
the Brits, but their government has gone off the rails.
Without even getting into that. I'm just saying I don't think Israel's the only one. But it's the only one where you're instantly called an anti-Semite for asking questions.
Right.
And it's also the only government that no one will ever criticize.
Right.
And people criticize Israel every minute of every day. Like, the only government that people will not criticize, Rashida Tlaib just tweeted out calling Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal.
What's wrong with that?
Rashida Tlaib? No.
You said no one will criticize.
No, I'm talking about Republicans that I would vote for, including you. And I'm saying, whatever. I don't even like talking about Israel. What I care about, I never do because it's not worth being called anti-Semites.
So wait, Rashida Tlaib called Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal, and that's a problem? He committed war crimes, right? The ICJ said there's merit, right? So what? Rashida Tlaib can't just explain what the ICJ said?
It's from AIPAC recipients. But now we are on the verge of joining a war.
He know he getting cooked.
Thinking about going solar.
That's why he fueling like that. He's running out of answers. He don't even know what to say. He's adding answers to some that he disputed 20 minutes ago. Yeah, he's all over the place. He's getting beat up by Tucker, man, and it's funny as hell because I'm not a Tucker supporter.
Just want to be clear about why we're doing this.
All right, so, and let's get into Iran momentarily, but you suggested it was a strange thing that I said a minute ago that when I came into the Senate, I resolved that I was going to be the leading defender of Israel. And what you didn't ask is why. So let me tell you why.
No, you said I was obsessed with Israel, and you had just told me that your driving motive to get to the Senate was to defend Israel. I'm like, I don't think I'm obsessed with Israel.
Okay,
what is that?
So
You said
Tucker, words matter. And you know that. I said I resolved to be the leading defender of Israel, and you said your driving motive, the reason you're in the Senate.
You want to be the leading defender of Israel. I would think if I ran for Senate, I'd be like, there are people dying of drug ODs on the street.
Right.
My driving motive is to fight for Texas and America, and to fight for jobs, and to fight for the Constitution. And you played a very careful word game of eliding.
You're the one who said it, not me.
So you still haven't asked why, but I'm going to tell you why.
Oh, fuck.
Okay.
And the reason is twofold. Number one, as a Christian, growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed.
Oh, my God.
And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Of those who bless the government of Israel?
Yeah. Think about that. This idiot said it. He said it. Oh, when I was a kid, in the Bible, it said those who bless Israel will blah, 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 blah. Right? Mind you, this is a United States congressman. We live in the United States of America. Our racist founding fathers basically fought their own people. They fought their own people, the Brits, because they didn't want to live in a monarch ruled by a king and a leader. And as they were establishing the Constitution, and of course they added the Bill of Rights and all that is, right? The First Amendment, Nick, the very first, wasn't the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth. No, the very First Amendment stated that we had the right to freedom of speech and freedom of religion. That was one of the main things they said when they came here, to make this more of a secular country, to where we don't live by the Bible or rules from a king or any of that other shit that the other nations was doing. for one of our congressmen to sit here and say, oh, but the Bible said we're supposed to cherish Israel and give them all our money. Oh, bruh. Yeah, you should not be a Texas representative. No.
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of it. It says the nation of Israel. So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my. You pull out the phone and use the.
It's in Genesis, but so you're quoting.
Yeah, that new Tucker ain't bad. That new Tucker ain't bad.
You don't have context for it, and you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology. I'm confused.
Right.
What does that even mean?
Tucker.
I'm a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Where does my support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two,
commanded.
Hold on. You're a senator, and now you're throwing out theology, and I am a Christian, and I am allowed to weigh in on this. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel.
Y'all.
We are commanded to support Israel, and
what does that mean?
Commanded, y'all. Think about that. What is that? Like the 11th commandment or something? What do you mean? We're commanded. Oh my God, to support Israel. This is what I'm talking about. And people don't really want to understand that in the beginning, in the founding of this country, even our very first founding fathers had Israeli support. Haym Solomon gave George Washington $20,000 for the American Revolution to fight off the Brits. Would you tell me that? Just tell me this. If you gave me $20,000 to help do something, and that's something I succeeded in, and I became this ruler of this new nation that you helped me with $20,000, you think you ain't gonna get shit out of it? Mind you, this is the founding of this country. Haym Solomon, a Jewish guy from Poland, gave George Washington 20 grand to fight off the Brits. And they want to pretend like there wasn't no underlining interest or agreement there. They just want to pretend like, oh, no, yeah, he was just a homie that loaned me 20 bands. No. We got to do some research to see if that was the beginning of our allegiance to Israel.
But
hold on, define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding? This is a majority Christian country.
Define Israel? Do you not know what Israel
is?
Yes. That would be the country you've asked like 49 questions about.
So that's what Genesis, that's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
So is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political entity called Israel?
He's talking about the nation of Israel. Yeah, nations exist, and he's discussing a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation
They're the descendants
God's
of
referring
Abraham.
to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
And by the way, it's not run by Benjamin Netanyahu as a dictator. It's a democratic country that elected.
He's the prime minister.
Right.
What?
But just like, America is the country run by Donald Trump. No, actually, the American people.
The country Israel, the land Israel, that was in the Bible, that God talked about, that we need to cherish, is the Israel that is ran by Benjamin Netanyahu today. Ted, just pack it up, buddy. Just pack it up. Go take your ass to Israel, please.
People elected Donald Trump. The same principle
This is silly. I'm talking about the political entity of modern Israel.
Yes, and that is
You believe
Israel.
That's what God was talking about in Genesis.
I do, but
that country's existed since when?
For thousands of years. Now, there was a time when it didn't exist, and then it was recreated just over 70 years ago.
I'm saying, I think most people understand that line in Genesis.
You see how he put that in there for thousands of years, and then there was a period of time where it didn't exist, and then it was recreated for the last 70 years. Bro, first of all, like Tucker said, the Israel that was in the Bible is not the Israel that they're talking about today. No. Second of all, those weren't even white fucking Jersey Jews. No, those were brown Jews. If you really want to talk about it, a lot of the Israelites, they actually came from what we know as modern day Iraq. Think about it. So can the Iraqis say, hey, man, this is my land. This is where my people was back in the land of Canaan. And my people beat the Canaanites. And you can do a DNA test, which they don't allow in Israel because they know if they did, and most of them folks are from Europe or some other places, then yes, the Iraqis could claim that land belonged to them. So for you to sit here and say, oh, yeah, back in the day, the Bible, that's where the Jewish folks existed in Israel, and that was our land, and then it didn't exist for some period of time. And then back in 1948, when we decided that we're going to name it Israel, that's when it began again, and it's been thriving for 70 years. Ted, I'm going to keep it all the way 100 with you. I know you ain't going to see this, but I'm going to keep it 100 with you. If Jesus, who y'all say it is Jesus in the Bible, if that man was alive today, he would be occupied by Israel.
To refer to the Jewish people, God's chosen people.
That's not what it says.
Okay, Israel, but you don't even know where in the Bible it is. So I don't know if we can.
I don't remember the scriptural citation. But, okay, I keep...
I don't remember this.
But yes, it's in the earlier part of the book. But the point is...
All right, Tucker, you keep interrupting me before I finish my sentence.
It's just important to know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're... So you're saying as a Christian, if I believe in Jesus, I have to support the modern state of Israel?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm explaining for me what my motivation is.
Oh, fuck. For me. Not for you, Tucker, for me. Like, think about that. If I'm a Christian, I have to support the modern state of Israel because that's what God said in the Bible back in the day, that this place ran by Benjamin Netanyahu.
I'm just trying to understand. You said God tells you to support the modern state of Israel in the Bible, in some place in the Bible that you heard about, but you don't know where it is. That's your theology?
You're going back, am I a sleazy feline again? I mean,
whoa.
If you accuse me of anti-Semitism again, I will say that, but I don't think you will.
Try to be a little less condescending. I'm trying to have a conversation.
You're throwing this stuff out, and it's my job to figure out what you're talking about.
Okay, but
I don't understand.
But you're not letting me.
Okay. I'm sorry. I want to be polite.
That is, for me, a personal motivation, but I also, what I was about to say, I don't believe my personal faith, not everyone who I represent is a Christian, it's not an argument for me to give that we should do this because of my faith. And so as an elected official, I don't give that as the reason we should support Israel. That is a personal motivation for me, but I don't think it is the reason we should. The reason that I am the leading defender of Israel is because Israel is our strongest ally in the Middle East, an incredibly troubled part of the world, and supporting Israel benefits America.
No, it don't.
And the clearest illustration of that is what is happening right now. Let me just make this point, and then...
Okay, and then I'll just ask what you mean. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, Iran, I think the most acute national security threat facing America right now is the threat of a nuclear Iran. I think China is the biggest long-term threat, but acute and near-term is a nuclear Iran.
Okay.
Everybody's a threat.
I think Israel is doing a massive favor to America right now by trying to take out Iran's nuclear capacity. And the reason I view Iran differently, we talked before about Iraq. I opposed the Iraq war. We talked about Syria. I opposed military intervention in Syria. The reason for that is those did not pose a threat to the United States. I think Iran is markedly different. Number one, the Ayatollah is a religious zealot. He is a lunatic, but a particularly dangerous kind of lunatic because he's driven by religious fervor. When he says death to America and death to Israel, I believe him.
Oh, my God.
And I think Iran is trying to get a nuclear...
So what did our Trump, what did our president say about the leader of Iran? What did he say, Ted? He said, I know where you are. I know exactly where you are, and I don't want you dead right now. Not yet. Isn't that like threatening to Iranian's leader or the Iranian leader? Why do we get to send veiled threats? Why do we get to commit terrorism on other people's land? We can invade other countries, topple their government, pay their citizens to create some kind of rebel group to go overthrow their government. Sometimes we will arm these rebel groups. Imagine that. Imagine. China came in here. They said, oh, we don't like how y'all treating y'all Mexicans. 80% of the country don't agree with the leader and the government. So we're going to go ahead and arm a bunch of no king protesters so they can fight Donald Trump. Like, how would we feel? How would you feel, Ted, if that happened? Because there's a lot of people that don't agree with Donald Trump. But that's basically the logic you're using. That's the basic logic that all these warmongers use. They're like, hey, man, shit. Their citizens don't even like them. We should go in here and topple the government. China, that's our main one. We're going to get there one day. But this Iran issue, we got to get them. Bro, this is sad, man. This is sad. And it's not going to work. It's not going to work. You are losing support. You are losing support because I was a child. I was in school when we did the Iraq invasion. And, of course, we talk about all the falling troops during Iraq. Oh, you got to remember all of our fallen troops. Bro, we were invaders. When are we going to say that? When are we going to say that? So right here, right now, we're not even going to wait for 20 years. We're going to call ourselves invaders. The first time boots is on the ground in Iran, and then one of those soldiers sadly loses their life. Oh, yes. I'm sorry. You're going to hear from me that I'm going to be like, hey, this was Donald Trump's doing, and those troops are terrorists. They shouldn't have invaded a whole nother sovereign nation. Simple as that.
Weapon, because there is a very real possibility they would use a nuclear weapon. So you want to ask, how does supporting Israel benefit us? Right now, this tiny little country, the size of the state of New Jersey, is fighting our enemies for us and taking out their top military leadership.
How convenient he uses New Jersey, right? Because that's what they call themselves. They're New Jersey Jews.
Trying to take out their nuclear capacity. That makes America much safer.
It doesn't make America much safer. That's a fucking lie. It actually makes Israeli and America's less safe. Sorry.
So the president has said repeatedly Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon,
yes,
and he will do whatever it takes to stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. He said that like 100 times. He clearly means it. I think he will use force to effect that if he feels he has to. I think he's been really clear about that. I don't know, but it seems that way.
It's a wrap. That's why he's sitting there nervous. He know he's going to be primary, and they are going to, whoever his opponent is, they are going to run the shit out of this interview. Oh, there's going to be ads clipped left and right. I hope they pick one of my videos. Listen, hey, I might put a ad together to take down Ted Cruz in the primary, because this right here was bad. This was bad. Take your ass to Israel. If that's who you are here for, get the fuck up out of here.
Do you think that's correct?
Whether he would use force to stop a nuclear weapon, I think he has put that option on the table.
He certainly suggested. I mean, I have literally no idea what's going to happen, but just reading his statements, he's made that really clear.
So what he has been very clear about, and I spoke with the president on Sunday, is he has been very clear to Iran that if they attack U.S. servicemen and women, there will be real consequences and I think very serious military response.
By the way, this is a sidebar, but I just can't resist. The Prime Minister of Israel said that Iran tried to assassinate Donald Trump twice.
Right.
Yeah, I read your newsletter this morning, and
what is that about?
That's true.
I think it was sort of a word game.
Ah!
What is true is Iran is trying to assassinate Donald J. Trump, and they have hired hitmen. Now, you pointed out...
he said that they had tried twice to kill him, and I don't know that... I don't have any evidence that's true, but I sort of wonder if that is true. Why aren't we at war with them already?
Okay.
Right.
And I read your newsletter this morning, and I thought it was playing word games to draw a political point.
What?
It's not a word game. It's my president. And
can I tell you?
Yeah, please.
Okay. You rightly pointed out there's no evidence that this clown in Butler, Pennsylvania, who shot the president was working for the Iranians. I don't think he was. There's no evidence of that.
So why would he say that?
I would like to know more about who he was and what's going on.
Agree.
But I don't find it plausible that he was working for the Iranians.
So why did he say?
So, was that caused by the Iranians? No. But what is true, and what your newsletter didn't acknowledge, is it true or false that Iran is currently trying to murder Donald J. Trump and has paid hitmen to do so?
Well, that's the question, and I don't know the Butler, Pennsylvania thing.
Butler, Pennsylvania.
Let's just put that aside. I don't know.
So Netanyahu misspoke when he said those 2 assassinations were because of Iran. But what he was saying that is right is they're actively trying to murder Donald J. Trump.
Is there? Okay, so you're aware of it.
Think about that. Oh my God. Iran is trying to assassinate Donald Trump. That's our president, right? Okay. Well, that would be bad. That would be horrible. Like Carlson said, like Tucker Carlson said, why isn't somebody arrested for that? Ted Cruz said, "Oh, we have great Iranians out here. Some of them are our friends and the diplomats and all. Well, why we can't talk to them? Why we can't get an answer on who is actually trying to assassinate the president? Is this true? Is it true? Is this credible news? Because if it is, this is what Tucker's saying. If it is, why do we need Israel to be a buffer to go to war with these motherfuckers? Why don't we just go to war with them ourselves? If this is true. Because it's not. It's not true. It's just another lie. So Benjamin Netanyahu can make us feel like we should spend more tax dollars on this war. Oh, wait. They try to take down our president? You mean the person in Michigan he was an Iranian little troll or a little mole? No, he wasn't. And then, of course, Ted, he cannot lie. He's not allowed to make that kind of bold lie. So he's going to say, yeah, you're right. There was some, what the fuck did he say? Some more watered down ass shit. No, Benjamin Netanyahu lied when he said that. So Ted Cruz is going to sit here and say, well, what you're not mentioning is that they did hire some assassins to take out our president. I wouldn't doubt that. Where's the proof, though? That way we can go to war under our reasoning, not Israel's. But again, I want to stress it again. Our president called for their president assassination.
A plot to kill Trump.
Yes. That Iran is paying for. And by the way,
when?
It has been over the last, I'd say, 18 months to 2 years.
In the United States?
In the United States, yes. They and let me point out.
Has anyone been arrested?
For the Trump attempted assassination, no. But they are also actively paying Iranian hitmen to murder Mike Pompeo when he was President Trump's first Secretary of State, the first term, rather. John Bolton, when John Bolton was National Security Advisor to President Trump. And a guy named Brian Hook, who was Assistant Secretary of State.
Right.
During the Biden administration.
Wait, but hold on. Can we go back to Donald Trump because he's the president? No, it's a big deal. What do you mean?
Right. Why are you bringing up John Bolton?
These assassination attempts on Trump.
Yes.
They've hired hitmen. How do we know that?
I know this is hard to hear.
That's crazy. Like, John Bolton is a warmonger. Like, he was, he basically signed the order to kill some of these people in the Middle East. So it's not far-fetched that some Iranian leaders want our intelligent officers gone. Look what just happened. Israel just bombed Iran and killed off a number of military leaders, whole bunch of scientists, right? And we cheered it on. We was like, oh, shit, damn, Israel cold.
People have been arrested. So,
but
the reason I brought up...
Let these people want to retaliate and take out Mike Pompeo and our warmongers. Oh, that's fucked up. John Bolton and shit. Oh, they tried to kill John Bolton. Bro, John Bolton is an evil person who wants everybody who is not American dead. At least in the global South. He wants regime change. He is one of them people that don't care to send American troops over there. So yes, just like how we feel, they feel the same way. You scream death to Iranian leaders. What do you think they're going to say? Get the fuck out of here, bro.
Pompeo, Bolton, and Hook. who are under active assassination attempts because of their service in the first Trump administration. Under the Biden
administration. Well, they say that. I've never seen any evidence of it.
Can I give you the evidence?
Well, let's just stick with Trump.
No, because these are interrelated. So let me make a bloody point.
No, we want to know about Trump.
Under the Biden administration, the State Department was spending $2 million a month providing security for Pompeo, Bolton, and Hook. And they did arrest Iranian hitmen at John Bolton's apartment complex who rented, I think, the apartment next to him and were actively trying to assassinate him, and they went and arrested them. So yes, they caught Iranian hitmen. Now, it so happens Iran's not very good at it.
Okay. Why we didn't go to war then? That was a threat, right? They was here. They infiltrated. They made it to American soil. Why didn't we go to war then? It's starting to fall apart, Teddy. Either that didn't happen or John Bolton was a legitimate target. Come on, you guys. Y'all act like our military aren't legitimate targets when they get captured in these other countries. Like, come on. Tony Blinken was the ringleader of this whole Israel-Hamas conflict, and the shit he was saying, just dismissing the Palestinian people, they started to write letters and have evil shit and threats towards Tony Blinken. And everybody's sitting there like, oh, that's terroristic threats towards our national whatever. Bro, he is spearheading the fucking support for the genocide of these Palestinian people. He's an American official who has the authority to give the money to Israel so they can kill all these innocent people. Why wouldn't those people have beef with Tony, Anthony Blinken, Mike Pompeo? Like, come on. It makes sense. It makes sense. Y'all can sit here all day and say, man, these motherfuckers want to kill our president. We got to get him. Bro, the same rules apply. Same rules apply.
So they are actively trying. And in fact,
but what about Trump? He's the president. If there's a plot to kill Trump by the Iranians...
Okay, so you dispute that the Iranians are trying to kill Trump?
Of course. I mean, that's the most important question. The Prime Minister of Israel just said there have been 2 assassination attempts against Donald Trump by the Iranians. And I think it's a very fair question, maybe you disagree, to ask, what are you talking about?
Okay. Yeah. And I agree with you that he misspoke.
So there were 2 attempts?
Misspoke.
There were 2 attempts, but the clown in Butler, Pennsylvania, and the other guy on the golf course were not connected to the Iranians. That's the part that he misspoke. But by the way, when you speak all the time, occasionally what he said that
when you speak all the time. By the way,
is that Iran is actively trying to murder Donald J. Trump and has paid hitmen.
That's fine.
And he was conflating it with the 2 attempts.
I understand. But I just want to pull that thread because it's so important. I voted for Donald Trump. I campaigned for Donald Trump. Yeah. He's our president. And we're on the cusp of a war. So if there's evidence that Iran paid hitmen to kill Donald Trump and is currently doing that, where's that? Like, what are you even talking? I've never heard that before.
Okay.
Where's the evidence? Who are these people? Why haven't they been arrested? Why are we not at war with Iran?
That's a great question to ask.
How do you know that that's true?
We know that it's true because we have been told that by the military and our intelligence community for the last 2 years.
We meaning who?
Congress has, and the public. I mean, we had multiple testimonies. I can send you testimony.
Do we know the names of the people or where this happened or what they tried to do to kill Trump?
We do not. We have not apprehended an Iranian hitman trying to kill him. We know that Iran is trying to do so.
In the United States?
Yes. And by the way, like Iran...
This just seems like a huge headline, and you're acting like everyone knows this. I didn't know that.
Iran put out a whole video about murdering Trump.
Right, but...
So, I got footage of Putin responding to Trump.
Trump right now, we should have a nationwide dragnet on this, and we should attack Iran immediately if that's true. Don't you think?
No.
No,
if they're trying to assassinate our president?
They have been for 2 years.
Then
they
why
are
are we
enemies.
at war with them?
Because it's a lie.
Why don't we just nuke Tehran if they're trying to murder our president? There's nothing that you could do that would be worse for the United States than murdering Trump. And I just don't understand why you're not calling for the use of nuclear weapons against the Ayatollah right now. I'm serious. If you really believe they're trying to murder our
president,
whatever
part
it
of the
takes.
problem of. So
what do you mean? You don't seem to take the allegations seriously. I do.
Exactly.
If you believe they're trying to murder Trump, we need to stop what we're doing and punish them.
Can I ask something? And I mean this sincerely. So, all right, 20 years ago, you were, I think it's fair to say, in the interventionist world. You were a vocal,
big time.
You were a vocal defender of the Iraq War.
I was a promoter of the Iraq War.
Promoter.
You now.
I worked for Fox News.
Look, I think you were mistaken. I think you were mistaken. That's okay. Look, people change and learn, and that's part of the journey of being human. Your views have moved, though. In my view, they've gone way too far the other end. And so I'm just
totally confused.
Why.
I'm saying, hold on. Wait, this is one of the weirdest conversations I've ever had. I'm saying if it's true that Iran is trying to murder Trump, we need to move militarily against Iran immediately. That's not isolationism.
Exactly.
That's the most. That's a call to violence, which I am calling for. If we believe that Iran is trying to murder our president, we need to strike Iran.
Okay, but isolationists say things like, well, then just nuke them, which is what you just said, which is kind of a weird...
Because I'm upset, because I'm taking you seriously. You don't take your own statements seriously.
I take my statements very seriously.
So I've asked you, where's the evidence this is true? And you said, well, they're trying to assassinate Brian Hook or something, which I'm against, by the way. I'm against hurting any American, period, no matter...
So you dispute that they're trying to murder
I'm not disputing it at all.
and Bolton?
I'm not disputing it at all.
They literally arrested the hitman with Bolton.
I don't know why that's even relevant. I'm asking about the President of the United States.
Wait, it's not relevant that Iran hired hitmen to murder cabinet members in Trump's administration? That doesn't go to
I've already
how credible
said
is it that they're willing to spend
totally
money to do that?
Opposed to that.
It's crazy.
It's awful. I am against killing anybody, actually, and especially foreign government. Okay. I'm asking about your allegation and the Prime Minister of Israel's allegation that that Iran is trying to murder the president.
Killing terrorists is a good thing. Killing people who are trying to murder Americans is a good thing. Because if you're America first, you want to protect America, and so killing Osama bin Laden was a fantastic.
But you don't really believe that they're trying to murder Trump, or
yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Then why aren't you calling for military action against Tehran right now?
Because they're not very effective. In terms of hitmen, their hitmen are not very effective. I do think...
So they're hitmen, but not the bad kind, the efficient kind?
No,
that's what you're saying.
They're a weak country who is on its knees, and I think we need to...
Then why are we so afraid of them? Why are they the biggest threat if they're a weak country that's on its knees?
Because they're trying...
I'm trying to keep track.
They're trying to develop... Be a little less snarky.
I know, you're right. That is a problem that I have. I'm sorry.
They're trying to develop nuclear weapons. They are close to developing nuclear weapons. And even a weak country with a nuclear weapon. Look, I believe there is a very real possibility if the Ayatollah develops a nuclear weapon that he would detonate it either in Tel Aviv or New York or Los Angeles. And that would be utterly catastrophic. And I don't know what the chances are of that. Let me compare and contrast Iran to North Korea.
Didn't they say that about North Korea? Oh, if North Korea get a nuke, it's going to be all over with for America. Kim Jong-un and Trump just made buddies the last little administration. And then some say that North Korea had developed nukes. If that's true, well, why haven't they used them on us since they were the biggest threat? Like, we're not listening. You mean to tell me that after Kim Jong-un went through all of that, he didn't use them? Like y'all said that he was? Is it because Dennis Rodman is still out here that Kim Jong-un didn't nuke us yet? Or is this just a fear-mongering to steal our money for a offense budget instead of a defensive budget? That money is not going to no defensive budget. No. It's going to an offensive budget. And they will never tell us. They will never tell us. So, yeah, they're going to pretend like, oh, we have to do this because if Iran get a nuke, New York is going to get blown up. the fuck up, man.
Wait, can I just ask one last question about trying to kill the president? You sincerely believe, you promise, that right now the Iranian government is trying to murder our president?
Yes.
You sincerely believe right now?
Absolutely.
And yet you are not calling for military action against the government that's trying to murder our president. Can you explain that?
He said they're not that good. Why would I do that?
I don't think they're very effective. I do think we should. By the way, America is supporting.
You're willing to take that risk?
Hey, look, we got some people over here. They plan on robbing this bank, but they got water guns and zip ties. Even though they're paying good money to U-Haul to get their vehicles ready to ambush this credit union. But for some reason, they're not like putting their messages in encrypted messaging, and they just seem like they're a little sloppy. So we're not even going to arrest them. Ted. And then the nigga said, Ted said straight up, he said, oh, they're a weak country, so even if they got nukes, I mean, I ain't tripping. They're a weak country. Who would care? Who cares? We're not going to pursue them militarily. They're little guys. They're nobody. This is the most contradictory hyper fucking mental venting of word salad pretzel making I've ever seen. Like, he knows he fucked up. This is what, an hour in to this whole interview, and I think it's what, almost 2 hours long. Ted knows he fucked up. He's sitting there in his head right now thinking about the memes like, shit. He's talking to Tucker Carlson. Hey, man, don't be so condescending, man. Why are you so snarky? Tone down the rhetoric just a little bit. Let's go ahead and pull back because I am losing this one. Like, bro, we're going to continue this because I got some videos of Iran. Basically, Trump said that Iran called him to make a deal. That didn't happen. Iran basically said tonight was going to be the night that they were going to do phase 4, I believe. I forgot. Russia decided that they were going to step in if America decided to step in. So we're going to watch this just a little bit more, and we're going to bring you some other footage. Hold on.
I think we should protect the president and we should take out our enemies.
Well,
Israel is doing that right now.
But aren't they? Why would we outsource
and by
it to
the
Israel
way,
if
your
they're
first
trying
question
to?
was, why are you for
Israel
regime change? That's a pretty good example of why I'm for regime change.
Okay, so you're saying we should just go in and take out the government of Iran.
No.
Why would we outsource it to Israel if they're trying to murder our president? Okay, you sound like the isolationist.
What I'm saying on any military judgment is there needs to be a cost-benefit analysis of what are the risks versus what are the benefits. In this instance, I think it is enormously in America's interest to do what Israel is doing right now, take out Iran's senior military leadership and take out their nuclear capacity. That is benefiting America, and it is a good risk reward.
Hell no, I ain't fucking with Tucker no more.
Invading Iran.
Tucker went over there. This is Ted Cruz's office.
To topple the government. If the risk got severe enough, I would support that.
Yes,
but
Ted
I think
Cruz's
the relative
career is
risk
over.
is not severe enough to
with.
justify that step at this time. What I would absolutely oppose under any circumstances is invading Iran and then staying and trying to turn them into a democracy. And part of where Iraq really went off the rails is not only did we topple someone who was fighting radical Islamic terrorists, who was a bad guy, but then we tried the vision of interventionists. It actually overlaps with the vision of a lot of Democrats. Let's go promote democracy in the world.
I agree.
And it is our military's job to kill the bad guys, to defend America. It's not their job to defend international norms. It's not their job.
That's what we're doing.
I have zero desire for the U.S. military to turn Iran into Switzerland. Look, would it be nice if they suddenly became Switzerland? Sure. If I could wave a magic wand, great. But I'm not going to send your kids or my kids to be in front of guns to go make that happen.
Well, bless you for that. I think that is the lesson that I learned from Iraq.
So Why are we there, Ted? Why are we there? That's what Trump just said. At first, it was about them enriching uranium from 3% to 20 or 60. Tulsi Gabbard said, nah, they're far away from making a nuclear bomb. At least a year or so. Benjamin Netanyahu says, no, we need to strike Iran because they are close to this nuclear bomb. Trump literally says, I don't believe Tulsi. Bruh, literally, that's what they said. And then, when all this shit happens, they kill all their fucking scientists who were working on this nuclear project. They change the agenda. It's no longer, oh, they're getting close to a nuclear bomb. No, because supposedly we just damaged their facility and killed all their scientists, right? Okay, cool, right? Pull back. Let's save our money. We don't need to do any more, right? We're done? No. Now, it's regime change. Now, it then escalated to turning Iran into Switzerland. That's a new agenda, Ted. So, you're not putting American boots on the ground to deter a nuclear threat. No. You're trying to turn it into Switzerland. It's just crazy. It's crazy. I'm going to give it about 3 more minutes. I'm going to give you maybe less than that.
I promoted that war. Apparently, unlike you, I was dumber. And I think that you just articulated the main lesson of it, which is it's hard to do that, and we're not good at it. But
I will.
Yes.
And so we're agreeing.
He get his talking points from AIPAC.
Vehemently agreeing.
As a corollary, that doesn't mean that horrible, evil dictators are okay. And going back to Reagan and the Cold War, we have lots of weapons. I am happy to highlight the brutality, the oppression, the human rights abuses of regimes, even though I don't want to invade them, because I think the bully pulpit of American leadership is really powerful. And I think...
Who is going to invade us? That's what I want to know. I think I'm done with this. But who is going to invade us and do a regime change? Because of, like I said,
Senator, thank you very much for spending the time to have this conversation.
It's good to be with you.
So you've come out for regime change in Iran, as distinct just from taking out the nuclear sites. What does regime change look like in Iran?
Somebody else in charge.
Somebody else in charge. That's what he said,
With
y'all.
President Trump.
Give me a second. So, yes, I don't think we should be involved in any of these wars. And that's what most of Americans believe. They believe that this is going to be one of the biggest conflict that can cause America to lose their dominance. And that's what ends up happening. When most superpowers lose their status, it's because they end up getting into these wars and it'd be over leveraging their government, their economy, and then they have so much opposition around the world and inside their own union. And it ends up toppling the government. So, with America, like Ted said, this bully pulpit we have, we can go around punking everybody, it's starting to fade. And people like Vladimir Putin had to respond to what Trump said about this conflict and how he plans to respond if Trump decides to respond first. Hold on.
If tomorrow, with the help of the U.S. or without it, Israel were to assassinate Ayatollah Khamenei, what would Russia's reaction be? What would your first actions be? That is the first part. I'm sorry, Mr. Taubey, if you allow me, I think I think this is going to be the best response to your question. I would not even discuss this possibility. But unfortunately, this possibility is being openly discussed by Mr. Netanyahu, by Mr. Trump. Yes, I've heard all of that, but I would be loath to even discuss that.
Russia and I personally keep in touch with Prime Minister of Israel on this matter, as well as with President Trump. You should always see whether the goal is achieved or not when you start something.
Yeah.
We see that as of today.
Why is Amazon paying me $600?
So yeah, I just want to see what he says. It seemed like Putin. Hold on.
Given all the challenging domestic processes there, we know about that, and there's no point in delving into that, but still there's a consolidation of society around the political leadership of the country. And, well, it happens virtually everywhere all the time. Iran is no exception here. That's first thing. And the second thing, which is equally important, and everybody talks about that, I would just reiterate that, what we hear and see.
There's too many lives involved in war for them to just throw that fucking word around like that.
These underground facilities, they exist, and nothing happened to that. And hence, I believe it would be right for us all together to seek ways to end hostilities and to find ways to reach an agreement.
Right.
For all parties to the conflict.
Right.
So that the interest of Iran could be ensured on the one hand.
Hey. Uh-oh. Don't say that.
When it comes to its peaceful nuclear activities, naturally, peaceful nuclear activities.
Oh, shit.
And I'm also talking about peaceful nuclear...
Hey. Putin said it. Iran should be able to have a peaceful nuclear program. We're going to make sure Iran's intentions are met peacefully. But I don't think Putin shares the same views of getting rid of Iran's leader and their nuclear program. Nope. So, these underground facilities that's holding these nuclear warheads, Putin has interest in keeping them safe.
Nuclear energy and the peaceful use of nuclear energy in other areas.
Right? Putin's the reasonable.
As well as ensuring the interest of Israel.
Shit.
In terms of unconditional security of the Jewish state. That is a subtle matter. And certainly we should be extremely careful here. But in my view, overall, such a decision could be reached.
What?
As you know, back in the time we started implementing a project in Iran that was launched by German companies, and we built the Bushehr power plant.
Oh, really?
German companies left. Iranians asked us to follow up on that project. It was a difficult task because it was started by German specialists. It was their design, and Rosatom made a great deal of effort in order to adjust these to the Russian design. Nevertheless, we succeeded, and this unit has been operating successfully. We signed a contract to build 2 extra units, and this is a work in progress. Our experts are on the field. We're talking about over 200 people.
Oh.
And we agreed with the Israeli leadership that their security will be ensured. Overall, I believe that given the plans of Iran to keep on developing the peaceful nuclear program,
Say that with
I'm talking
emphasis.
about areas of agriculture that is applicable, as well as medicine and so on. But this is not nuclear energy. As well as nuclear energy, together with Iran, since we have this high level of trust between our countries, we have established very good relations. We could keep up with this effort and ensure their interests in this area. I would not delve into details, there are a lot of them. And all these details were discussed by us, both with the Israeli side, with the American side, and certain messages were sent to our Iranian friends. And overall, the interests of Iran,
with our Israeli side, our American side, and messages were sent to our Iranian friends. Trump! Hey, Trump. Putin has an invested interest to keeping the Iranian nuclear program safe. He's been talking to his friends in Iran. And he wants to make sure that the aggression in America or from America in Israel does not harm that nuclear program. That himself, along with some Germans, oh my God, along with some Germans, they have put this program together for years with their Iranian friends. How ironic would it be? Because I was born in 1984, right? How ironic would it be if Israel decided to advance on Iran's nuclear program, who Putin, Russia, and Germany had something to do with. And Germany had to go in and defend their assets from Israeli aggression. Like I said, I was born in 1984. What kind of conflict would that be between the Germans and the Israelis? I mean, that's what Putin just said. Putin said me and the homies in Germany just did this shit. So if Trump tried to fuck it up, look, I'm gonna get with my homies in Iran, and we're gonna make sure this shit stay safe. That would be another Jewish German conflict. In theory. That'd be crazy. That'd be crazy. Shit. They're gonna call it anti-Semitic watch.
Peaceful nuclear energy can be ensured. At the same time, we could lift concerns of
Putin is a
Israel
very
when it comes
smart
to
man.
its security.
No.
In my view, there are such options. Once again, we have outlined them
Right.
to our partners.
Iran has allies, and that's
the
what people don't
US,
realize. And they're trying to.
And we reached out to Iran.
Hold on, I want to hear you say.
We do not impose anything to anyone.
I can barely hear.
We simply say how we see the way out of the situation. But certainly it's up to the political leadership of all these countries to decide, primarily Iran and Israel. Let me highlight the president of the Russian parliament wrote a letter to his counterpart in Germany. Throughout modern history, Russia hasn't done a single step, mind you, not a single step that would contravene the interests of the German people and the Federal Republic of Germany. However, the situation has changed right now. I don't want to give any assessments with regard to the position of Germany that it takes following assessments that were made in many Western countries in relation to the developments in Ukraine. Okay, that.
What kind of jackets would the Germans wear? No, I'm sorry. I'm going to stop.
That is a matter of political assessments.
I'm going to stop.
But when we see German tanks in Ukraine,
hold on, German tanks in Ukraine? What? Shit.
Well, not even in Ukraine, but in Kursk, there was German equipment on the Russian soil in the part of Russia that is not contested by Germany. It is the Russian territory. What is Taurus? This is a precision weapon that Ukrainian officers cannot operate. They're not able to do that. That is something obvious, and everybody knows about that. You cannot operate Taurus without space intelligence. This can only be done by Western countries. You cannot do that without German officers. Only German officers can operate Taurus. What does it mean? That means that servicemen of Bundeswehr will strike the Russian territory using German weapons.
So,
what is it?
It almost seemed like Putin is realizing that America is more involved in Ukraine than they pretend to be. Because there's no way that Ukraine can handle some of these weapons. And it seems like they're going to have Germany with boots on the ground in Ukraine. I don't know. I'm going to do some more research on that. But we also had China. China weighed in on this situation as well. And I want to see what they had to say because like it's been said, people act like Iran don't have allies. And with Russia saying what they said, and let's see what China has to say, you can't cry. You can't cry when the allies come and help them out, right? That's what y'all doing. That's what Israel's doing. They're trying to get America to come and help them out, right? So if China and Russia decide to help out Iran, there's nothing we can say.
Well, we can speak. Dr. Victor Gao, who is the Vice President of the Center for China and Globalization, who joins us from Beijing. Dr. Gao, always a pleasure talking to you. We've never talked about the state of relations between China and Iran before, so why don't we make that the starting point? How would you describe the state of ties between Beijing and Tehran?
Thank you very much for having me. China highly respects Iran as a sovereign nation with territorial integrity, and the two countries engage with each other on equal terms. And China does not recognize the extraterritoriality of any other country's one-sided and self-imposed sanctions against.
Boom. Boom. China straight said it. Bro, we cool with Iran. They're my folks. And we don't even listen to this Western one-sided rules on defending your nation. Nope. Oh, shit. Oh, yeah, I don't think we going to have problems. But Israel, you're going to have some problems, man.
Against another country or against China. Therefore, when China deals with Iran, we deal with Iran in all spheres of relations, including energy cooperation. And I don't think this is a problem. And if a third country cries foul, the problem is really with itself, with its attempted extraterritoriality of its unilaterally imposed sanctions.
Right.
And I think once this Israel initiated war against Iran started, the Chinese government's position is very clear. Israel is in violation of a self-imposed war against a member of the United Nations, against its sovereignty and territorial integrity. And China really deplores Israel's military attack on nuclear facilities inside Iran, and considered it as a very serious offense against world peace and security.
Oh shit!
Okay, I mean, just to give you the Israeli line on what you just said,
let me tell you what the
Israeli
hold on.
repeatedly on this channel is that Iran is very close to being able to build a nuclear weapon. It might already be able to do so. And they're constantly calling for the destruction of Israel. So they say what they're doing is preemptive self-defense. What do you make of that argument?
We don't give a shit.
It is of high hypocrisy for a country like Israel, which violated international convention in possessing nuclear weapon to start with. And now it's accusing another country, Iran, for attempting to acquire nuclear weapons. I don't think there are any higher level of double standard and hypocrisy for Israel to accuse another country of trying to possess nuclear weapons. I think the Middle East will be much better off if Israel disarms itself with nuclear weapons, and no other country will want to possess nuclear weapons. That will probably create a better level playground for all the countries involved in the Middle East. For Israel to possess nuclear weapons and to constantly threaten other countries with nuclear attack is really a very serious problem. And I think international community really need to join together to put an end to such blatant violation of peace and security, not only in the Middle East, but in the world at large.
We've heard from the president of China, President Xi Jinping, saying on Tuesday that China is, quote, deeply worried about Israel's military operation against Iran.
They're not playing.
Where do you think you and the president of China see things heading to? Why the worry? How dangerous could the situation be?
What?
Well, as a general point, China is always worried if a war breaks out. And this time, this war is a complete surprise attack launched by Israel against a sovereign and independent country like Iran. And the fact that this surprise attack took place when the United States and Iran are still engaged in discussions about how to end this nuclear problem is particularly surprising. It's, in my best judgment, it's like the Japanese surprise attack on Pearl Harbor in the Second World War. And I think Israel has also committed all the crimes in massively killing the government officials, military officials of Iran. And no country should tolerate any other country like Israel to commit such massive amount of assassinations before a formal declaration of war against Iran, for example. So I think the Chinese president is legitimately worried about the scale of the attack, the potential loss of life, as well as the potential escalation of the situation. Because you never know how this situation may evolve eventually, whether it will get out of control, whether it will escalate from conventional war to nuclear war, for example, or whether, ironically, it will force Iran to really develop a nuclear weapon. And what will be the consequence for Israel and Iran to both have nuclear weapons? Do they really want to use nuclear weapons against each other? What will be the consequence for peace and security in the Middle East and in the world at large? Therefore, it is time to call on Prime Minister Netanyahu, stop all the craziness. He probably wants to save his political skin rather than really serving the fundamental interest of the people in Israel to launch such unilateral, self-imposed surprise attack on a big country, a great country like Iran.
Dr. Gao, on Tuesday, China accused the US President Trump of pouring oil on the conflict there between Iran and Israel. Why and how does Beijing see the United States making things worse with regards to the situation?
Poured oil on them? That's not gonna.
I think evidence points out to a joint operation by the United States and Israel against the country of Iran. They probably have a division of work. The United States was not very much involved on the surface of the situation, but no one should be surprised if the United States highly coordinates its information gathering, etc., with Israel. And the fact that Israel has kept saying that the United States is involved from the very beginning of the war, etc., illustrates the level of cooperation and collaboration between the United States and Israel against Iran. And the United States...
Right, because Trump was lying. Or one of them was lying. Trump said, I didn't know shit about Israel's strike. And then Bibi was like, yeah, nah, I talked to him. I talked to him right before I did it. So, yeah. I don't know, but China don't seem like they playing. They don't seem like they're playing.
Still keep saying that they are not involved, but then they need to come up with a proof that they are not involved. And not being involved is not sufficient. And the United States really need to pull all their levers to force Israel to stop this war against Iran, and also to stop Israel from misusing the United States, creating all the misinformation about that the United States and Israel are working together to, for example, destroy Iran or to create a regime change in Iran, etc. So I think it is time for the United States. My personal concern is that if the United States really gets bogged down in this war against Iran, no one knows what will happen to the United States in the coming years or coming decades.
Well, that could be beneficial for China, couldn't it? Because if the United States spends...
Woman, I'm not going to respond to that comment. But it could be. It could be. It could be one big-ass measuring contest, and African nations aren't in it. Shit.
Large sums of money, a considerable amount of time and attention on affairs in the Middle East. That leaves China to do what it wants to do in a more, let's say, unrestrained way.
Allow me to emphasize one point. China always benefits by protecting peace and stability anywhere in the world.
Now, if this is a measuring contest and China came to help, I think I ready to go lose that one. No, am I tripping? No, I'm gonna stop, babe, stop.
And China will feel very much at a loss if peace and stability and prosperity anywhere in the world will be damaged by especially unilaterally imposed war of one country against the other country. Therefore, such benefit, if any, that China will enjoy is not for China's own benefit. It is for peace and stability and the well-being of mankind. It is time to stop Israel in this war against Iran and to prevent the United States from really joining this war together with Israel, which may escalate the situation and create unprepared consequences for mankind as a whole.
Right.
You mentioned regime change in your earlier response, and I want to pick up on that because we heard from President Trump on social media saying, quote, "We know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. He's an easy target, but he is safe there. We're not going to take him out, at least not for now." How would China react if the United States did, or if Israel did kill the supreme leader?
Exactly.
This is exactly the confusion that President Trump is creating, deliberately or unintentionally.
Right.
I don't think assassination of a head of state or head of government or political leaders or military leaders of another country is the right thing to do in the world of today. I think countries need to have the minimum decency and the protocol in dealing with another country. Assassination is the bad thing, and assassination may serve as a boomerang, eventually may come back to hurt yourself and haunt you.
Tell them, boomerang.
Therefore, engaging in assassination, especially against head of state or leader of another religious faith, for example, or against the major political and military leaders of another sovereign country is...
Think about that. And this motherfucker Ted Cruz want to talk about Mike Pompeo and and John Bolton and all them was threatened. Yeah, that's because you guys are out there threatening other people and their fucking leaders and their sovereignty, bro. You guys are using America's bully pulpit to fucking do regime change in some of these countries. It fails, at least in my lifetime. The Iraq War was a failure. And when people are literally saying, hey, the people in your country who facilitated these atrocities, oh, they got to go. We have them on our hit list, just like America has. China probably on their hit list. Some Russians on their hit list. Some motherfucking Palestinians on their hit list. And, of course, some Iranians on their hit list. So I'm not listening to the fact that, our leaders are being threatened by some of these Iranians, so we're going to have to do a preemptive strike. Nope, because we have the same, if not worse, rhetoric.
It's the wrong thing to do, especially at a time when Israel has self-imposed this undeclared war in a surprise attack against Iran. This is the worst time for the head of the state of the United States to imply that assassination may be involved in killing the leader of Iran.
You mentioned in your first answer, you painted a picture of a very cordial set of relations, cordial ties between Beijing and Tehran. Let me put this scenario to you. If Iran goes the same way as, for example, Syria, and the assassination that you mentioned or otherwise brings about a change of management, shall we say, in Iran, I mean, that would be a loss for China, wouldn't it? Because you'd have lost an ally, a key ally in this region. Because if a pro-Western government replaces the government that's there already, that would be a loss for China, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Look at him.
I don't
trying.
think so. I think China has always the long perspective.
Hey, China
replaces the government that's there already.
Hey, China, if Westerners take over, that's gonna fuck y'all up, right? Don't you wanna defend your ground, right? Don't you wanna fight too? Want to get up in here? We might take over and there'd be a Western leader over here, and I know that it's gonna hurt your bottom dollar, right? Your cause, no? You don't want in? Fuck. Just so much destruction and bullshit. Just go, everybody, just put your guns down, turn the music on, and let's just dance. Let's dance this shit out. Fucking A.
That would be a loss for China, wouldn't it?
No, it wouldn't be a loss for China.
No, I don't think so. I think China has always the long perspective and historical perspective to look at any contemporary events, like what had happened in Syria and what is happening in Iran.
Y'all didn't colonize us.
By the events on a day-to-day basis. We look at the situation in 10 years, in 100 years, sometimes 500 years, if not even longer. Therefore, in the historical perspective, if you really look at the situation in the long-haul perspective, war is bad. For Israel to impose an undeclared war on Iran is an aggression. And whatever Iran is doing is justified because they are defending their own sovereignty and territorial integrity. They are fighting back against aggressors. And if the United States wants to join Israel to become an aggressor against Iran, well, history will eventually have its own verdict. Therefore, I think all of us need to work on with Israel to stop the war as quickly as possible and come up with peaceful ways to negotiate with Iran. And I personally will completely support the ending of whatever nuclear weapon program, if any, by Iran. And I do hope Israel will also dispossess nuclear weapons and Middle East will become a nuclear-free zone. That will be in the best interest of all countries in that particular part of the world.
What do you think, Israel?
China will do its best to promote.
Does that sound like a deal? Y'all want to get rid of your nukes? If you get rid of your nukes, Iran will get rid of their nukes. And we can, de-nuke the Middle East. No? Yes? No? I bet you motherfuckers going to be like, hell no, I'm keeping my shit. So then shut the fuck up. Shut up. Just shut up.
Promote the real justified result for any such tension or conflict of war, and China will do its best to prevent the war from escalating or from spreading out, impacting on more countries and hurting more people in that part of the world.
Yeah, what does that look like?
The United States and some of its allies view China as being part of what it now calls CRINC, which is this new acronym which is being bandied around quite a bit by foreign policy talking heads on television channels all over the world. CRINC meaning China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea in a very overt way, and join that conflict. Do you see a day that China or Russia or other actors could perhaps join in support?
CRINC? That's how creative these Westerners were? China, Russia, India, Iran, and North Korea? The CRINC? Oh my God. Mind you, these are all places Westerners could not colonize because they have nuclear deterrent. CRINC that.
Iran.
Well, imposing a war on a great country like Iran with 1.6
every day we learn something new.
million square kilometers, and with up to more than 90 million people, and a country which has tremendous amount of spiritual leadership among the Shia people throughout the world,
right,
is really poking for more disaster if it is not stopped right away. And if other countries want to join the fight on the side of Israel, I will urge them to stop that right away. And if, for example, other countries want to join the fight against Iran, you never want to exclude the possibility that other major countries want to fight together with Iran. Because
thank you. That's what my wife said.
On Iran is the unjustified war. It's
hey,
a war of aggression. It's undeclared war. It's a surprise attack.
Right.
And any people, any country under such surprise attack, an attack of aggression, has full legal justification to fight back.
Yep.
Therefore, stopping the war right now is the best way. Allowing it to escalate and to get out of control will most likely hurt the fundamental interests of the people in Israel, as well as in Iran and in many other countries in that particular part of the world.
Right.
And I think China is doing the right thing, urging on Israel to stop the war, urging on Iran not to escalate, for example, try to wrap up the situation so that all parties involved can talk about peace rather than war and war and war. China does not like war of any kind, and China does not want to see any country launching a war of aggression against another country.
Yep. And just lastly, that acronym CRINC, viewed as being a group of hostile or adversarial nations by Washington and some of its allies. What do you make of it? What do you make of the acronym?
Oh my God.
How would you describe?
Sorry, I just don't understand why America, Westerners, feel like everybody else is the aggressor. Like, we're the aggressor. And this CRINC acronym, I don't know, I guess they're crinking our neck or something. Like, that is just proof that the fear-mongering is the only thing that drives Western nations. Fear. They can't build shit. China is the leading manufacturer. So we don't have nothing that we send to other countries. We are not the leading exporters. No, we are the leading consumers. We buy shit all day. We are the leading importers. We don't make shit. We don't know how. We're just trash-ass, fat-ass Americans who just consume shit all day. So yes, we may be them people who are untalented, I would say. But when it comes down to these other nations and the beauty behind some of these nations and some of the culture behind some of these nations, it's only obvious that there's a grudge that Westerners could not colonize these nations. And they're still trying to today. So they're going to demonize them and come up with this acronym, CRINK, and then say these selected nations, these countries, they have this hostile nature towards America and our allies. And we're going to have to come up with something to, I don't know, fight back the Fab Five. Is that what it is? China, Russia, Iran, North Korea. 4, the Fabulous 4. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't want my money going over there. I don't. I really don't. But what we do have, hold on real quick, is we have Trump. We have Trump in the Situation Room. And I think he got the war plans. I think he got the war plans needed. I think this is why he left Canada the other day. This is why he left Canada, because he went to the Situation Room, y'all. There's a situation in the Situation Room, y'all. And I want to see what it was.
Breaking news, we're learning that President Trump has now reviewed attack plans for Iran. For now, though, he is holding off to see if Iran steps away from its nuclear program. A White House official telling CNN, quote, all options remain on the table. It comes as Israel is waiting to see whether Trump will attack Iran with one of America's most powerful weapons, a 30,000-pound bunker-busting bomb. And Brian Todd is out front with a special report. More on this weapon that has actually never been used in combat.
It's a sophisticated, frightening piece of weaponry designed to hit targets like some of Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities deep underground.
Wait a minute. Did Trump just say, all right, my bad, I was just playing. We gonna see if Iran do something, then we'll come in? After saying all that shit about we know where you at, this, that, and third, he came back home from Canada, went to the Situation Room and said, all right, let's chill out. We're going to wait for Iran to do something. Oh, my God, Trump. Crinkus. Did you put the U.S. at the end of Crinkus? Crinkus. Yes, Crinkus. United States, dude. A hostile nation.
They're buried so deep, and no other bomb would be able to certainly destroy them.
The GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator, also known as the Bunker Buster, the largest non-nuclear bomb in the U.S. military's arsenal. Designed, the Air Force says, to reach and destroy weapons of mass destruction in well-protected facilities. The Bunker Buster is roughly 20 feet long, weighs 30,000 pounds, with 6,000 pounds of high explosives. The Israelis don't have them, nor the means to deliver them. Only the U.S. does, and there is no public record that they've ever been used in combat.
The United States has never encountered a target that required a bomb of this size.
Really? So we don't even know if it worked.
Bombs such as the Moab, which is the mother of all bombs, as they say.
That mother of all bombs, weighing more than 21,000 pounds, was dropped by U.S. forces on ISIS targets in Afghanistan in 2017. But the Bunker Buster, even heavier. Experts say the Bunker Buster has a thick, hard shell designed to withstand the impacts of the ground and plunge to the depths it needs to reach, with explosives in a fuse that also needs to be robust enough to penetrate the ground. The Bunker Buster doesn't have the biggest blast area, experts say, because it's designed to burrow into the ground before exploding. The only plane that can carry the Bunker Buster, the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber, flown by a 2-pilot crew, capable of flying about 6,000 nautical miles without refueling and eluding an enemy's most sophisticated defenses. The likely target of the Bunker Buster, if the U.S. were to get involved in this conflict, Fordo, an Iranian nuclear enrichment site buried deep under a mountain beneath possibly 300 feet of rock. A key question. Could the Bunker Buster really damage Fordo significantly? Experts say the Bunker Buster can penetrate about 200 feet into the ground, maybe more. But if the key targets at Fordo are about 300 feet under?
One bomb isn't going to penetrate that. You're going to have multiple hits at the same spot. Drop
at the
a
same
bomb,
time.
Another B-2 comes in, drops another bomb in the crater of the first.
And it ain't going to work that way.
Another key question is, would a strike on the Fordo nuclear facility cause a large radiation leak? 3 experts who spoke to CNN say a radiation leak would likely be limited to the immediate area, and a strike would likely not pose the same kind of catastrophic consequences that bombing a nuclear reactor would. Aaron?
All right, Brian, thank you very much. I want to go to retired Colonel
That is crazy. Now think about that. Oh, yeah, if they bomb a nuclear site, it ain't going to do nothing. And just going to... maybe a little bit of radiation gonna pour out, but nothing crazy. And if it does, then it's only gonna hurt that surrounding area. Well, who gives a fuck about them Iranians, right? Like, American hubris. That's what's gonna be the title of my next one, because our arrogance is gonna make us lose this war and our dominance in this war, because that's what's up for grabs. That is what's up for grabs, and people don't really understand that if Iran succeeds in holding off Israel, there can be a greater Iran. They can take Israel back and force the motherfuckers, Jewish folks, back to America. It's gonna be some real life territory dispute conflict. Hold on, let me see. There's we got another one. Trump's approach to Iran. Hold on, let's see. Hold on real quick. I want to see what this is, because there's so much news going on, you guys.
Of not revealing whether the U.S. will get involved in Iran.
I said it's very late. You know? I said it's very late.
It's very late
to be talking.
Mr. President.
I don't know. There's a big difference between now and a week ago, right? Big difference.
I'm tired. It's very late.
And this comes as the Israel-Iran conflict is now in its 6th day. So this was overnight over Tehran. Video from a semi-official Iranian media outlet showing air defenses repelling projectiles over the city.
The U.S.
Wait, say that again?
So this was overnight over Tehran. Video from a semi-official Iranian media outlet showing air defenses repelling projectiles over the city.
The U.S. is...
They didn't tell us that. They didn't tell us that Iran's air defense was whooping ass, taking out these incoming missiles. Trump said that we had control over Tehran's airspace. That's what Trump said. CNN just said, no, we got footage of Iranian interceptors taking out some of these incoming missiles. Shit, one more time. I want to make sure that's what I heard.
Scrambling.
So this was overnight over Tehran. Video from a semi-official Iranian media outlet showing air defenses repelling projectiles over the city.
The U.S. is scrambling big time right now with more assets to the region, including a second aircraft carrier strike group and more than 30 tankers for in-air refueling. This morning, Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is rejecting President Trump's calls for unconditional surrender.
You see how they try to pretend like, oh no, these ships, they're just here for refueling. If the air patrol need to come back after doing all their little bombing in this sovereign nation, we just want to give them like a chevron in the ocean. That way they don't have to go far to pick up no gas. Bro, you're still a part of the conflict. You are still a legitimate target. I don't want to hear nothing about Iran blew up our ships in the sea that wasn't doing nothing but providing gas, and this is a sign of aggression. No. You are still a part of it. The people that put the rivets on the fighter jet, that never stepped foot on a site and went and go kill no innocent people? No, sorry. You're still a terrorist. You still have blood on your hands. Even if you were in America at a warehouse with just a little bit of rivets, putting them on some sheet metal. If you did it, sorry. You're complicit. So you don't have to sit here and say, oh, no, our ships, they're not here for no fight. No, please, don't target us. We're just here to give these niggas more gas.
He said just a few hours ago.
Iran has never surrendered. Why should we surrender? If they threaten us again, they will receive an irreparable strike.
Fareed Zakaria, the host of CNN's GPS, is joining us now live from London. Fareed, everyone wants to know if the U.S. is going to get directly militarily involved in this conflict. What's your analysis?
Well, President Trump is clearly enjoying playing the part of a very unpredictable leader. You know, some people call it the madman theory of foreign policy, where, you know, you deliberately make it so that no one can guess what you're going to do, and you're sort of trying to out-crazy everyone else. And Trump is doing that, and he's doing it very effectively. But I think at heart what's happening here is it's sort of FOMO foreign policy, by which I mean President Trump did appear to be negotiating with the Iranians, and Steve Witkoff was due to meet with them. He had been meeting with them. Then Bibi Netanyahu decides to move forward. It succeeds wildly. It succeeds, I think, even more than Israelis expected. And Trump now wants to get in on the action. So he's, you know, taking credit in a sense for the Israeli action, but does that mean he'll join in? So far, Trump has tended to be fairly cautious about major military escalations. So I'm going to guess that this is mostly Trump trying to pressure the Iranians to come to the negotiating table with essentially a surrender, which is to give up their right to enrichment. You know, this was the issue that appeared to be the obstacle. So what he wants is a real win on negotiation. He can say, I achieved what nobody else was able to achieve, and he's rattling the saber for that reason. Now, there's always a danger, you know, that a scholar once said there's one problem with threats in foreign policy. They can be very expensive if they fail. It means you have to carry it out. If the Iranians don't agree, then it leaves Trump in a bind.
Yep.
So we know, just based on the available intelligence and, you know, talking to Israel, that it cannot fully eradicate Iran's nuclear capabilities without U.S. involvement. If the U.S. does get involved to try to take out Iran's nuclear capabilities, it would take more than just going in with one strike, right? Just given the depth and the complexities around it.
You never know, you know, in military affairs what exactly might happen. But I mean, on paper, the U.S. has B-2s, the stealth bombers, with these bunker busting bombs that could probably destroy Fordo. I mean, they could essentially destroy the whole mountain, and the whole, you know, the entire facility would collapse in all likelihood, probably with just one or two strikes. As I say, on paper, that is the American capability. The Israelis have nothing like that, but Fordo is not a, you know, hermetically sealed facility. There are, you know, heat vents, there are entrances. So there would be ways for the Israelis to very significantly degrade Fordo. It would take many.
Why would you want to? Why would we want to?
What do Wall Street traders and Winston know that regular traders like you?
Hold on. Why don't we just leave them alone and let them have their nuclear program? Since Iran or Israel have their nuclear program, why are you worrying about Fordo? Say it with me. We're America. We can do that kind of shit to anybody, and we don't give a fuck. So we have CNN. Abby Phillips is she giving us some more news.
Sunrise in Iran and Israel. A source tells CNN that the president has reviewed Iran attack plans, but he's holding off to see if the country is going to step back from its nuclear program.
Exactly.
Alex is back with us here to talk through the president's potential options here. And as you see it, there are three main scenarios that could play out here. The first one is essentially that Israel decides to go it alone.
Correct. So if Israel, if the president decides to let the Israelis do it by themselves, if he's comfortable, he thinks they have the capabilities to do enough damage that he's comfortable with the after effects of it, this is what it would look like. So in terms of Fordo, you really have two options. The Israelis previously launched a raid into Syria about 200 kilometers north into a chemical weapons facility. So they put commandos on the ground before. That's an extreme option with a lot of risk, obviously putting people on. But as you can see, the tunnel entrance is here. So we got them here, right, here, and here, right? So if you're going to send folks inside into the mountain into a deep buried facility as a render safe mission, kind of difficult.
Yeah,
but
I mean, how defended is this area, though? I mean, are there, Iranians on the ground?
Sure.
What else is there?
So, I mean, there's plenty of defenses that are here. This was specifically built as a deep buried facility to withstand conventional attacks, either from a ground or an air raid.
Yeah.
So, and you also have what we'd call fatal funnels or choke points, because if there's any guns inside, those are the only entrance points, and that's where they're pointing. So it's a very difficult mission set for anybody performing it.
Yeah.
No.
So the second option is that the United States does a limited attack, and it sounds like from our reporting that is what the United States is trying to figure out. What is the limited option here?
Right, so if it's limited option, so if it wasn't the ground raid and the Israelis, those same tunnels, if they don't bomb them to collapse the tunnels and the air shafts so that they can't get inside, requiring constant suppression, then it becomes the U.S. option, right? There's really only one aircraft that's capable of carrying the 30,000-pound bunker-busting bombs required to do the mission.
That's what everybody's saying. Israel's the only aggressor out there in the Middle East.
Round trip to the United States with refueling, provided that nothing forward deployed. Probably multiple sorties involved, but that's realistically what we're looking at in order to do enough damage to set the program back.
Yeah, and the B-2s, Israel doesn't have them.
They don't have them, and that's why it requires the U.S., and they can't deliver as big of a blow from the air.
Nope.
Yeah, so
the B-2 bomber. Hey,
option 3.
Now I remember because I grew up in
essentially
Palmdale, California. Right next to Lockheed Martin and Edwards Air Force Base, and I remember when this B-2 bomber was flying around, showing its speed and stealth capabilities. Of course, it didn't drop no bombs, but we're just sitting here like, oh, okay, we got ourselves a plane here, huh? Now, today's kids, they're weak. They're weak. I wouldn't say weak as, a bad thing, but they don't have that warmonger mentality to where they are gun-ho to join the military and go kill innocent civilians in other countries for America's interests. No. So America has to rely on shit like the bomber and all kind of other unmanned crafts because our whole military is going to be unmanned soon. But for these people to sit here and say, and they can concede and say that Fardo is 300 some feet underneath, right? So it's going to take multiple strikes to even get it. I guess just one strike from the 20,000 or 30,000 pound bomb can go and impact things 200 feet below. So they're saying, yeah, we got to go in, strike it, and then come in with another bomb and hit that crater. We just watched videos. Of Iranian interceptors taking out incoming missiles. We just said that Israel do not have any of these bombers. They don't. They don't possess them. They don't have the plane to carry them. My question would be, how many do we have? How much do it cost to make one? And how many do we need to use to achieve this goal? And if it gets shot down, what will we do? What will we do? We just seen Iran shooting down shit. Israel don't have none of these. If Iran knock out our only line of defense to get to the Fardo, 300 feet in the ground, what would be the next step? Entertaining these little tunnel entrances? What would be the next step? Because American hubris is the reason why we're going to be in a territorial dispute. For America, even Abby Phillips sitting here, what options do we have? They could take out the whole mountain, right? Bro, shut the fuck up. Shut up. Like I said, I grew up around these motherfuckers. I can hear the B-2 bomber coming. Probably ain't going fast enough, for the speed of light to just circle around our neighborhood, granted. But don't sit here and think that the bomber, I'm 40 years old, the bomber, the B-2 bomber, that old-ass fucking stealth bomber will not be detected in Iranian airspace. Get your arrogant asses out of here. Because if Iran take those bombers out, and that's your last defense to try to get to this nuclear program, wrap it up. Wrap it up. There's nothing else. There's nothing else to do unless you're going to send in the Mossad agents into these fucking tunnels. Fuck.
Looking at the region and saying not just this one facility, but let's take it all out. Like, what are we talking about in terms of that?
Sure. I think this is the least likely option to start with. If the president makes a decision to hit Fordo, his political base doesn't support, a war. He certainly doesn't want to collapse the government there and deal with nation and state building, which is what we saw in Iraq and Afghanistan.
What do you think dropping a 30,000 pound
bomb?
To
strike, right? What do the targets look like outside of that? You can see the nuclear facilities here with the nuclear symbols, and then you've got regime targets, and then you've got oil refineries along there, which is really far expanded at that point. It's more likely that would be. But that would realistically probably only happen if they decide to go after U.S. forces in the region. So we have between Qatar, the UAE, we've got major air bases. U.S. Central Command has a forward headquarters at Al Udeid Air Force Base in Doha. We've got major bases in Kuwait. But what's probably the most likely would be the U.S. bases here, out of Baghdad, up north in Kurdistan, and then here in Syria along the border, which is what everybody's predicting they would try to hit. So the U.S. has been surging assets in. F-22 squadron came in today into the U.K., all kinds of fighter assets and air defense systems to protect U.S. forces that are there. Ships were moved out of the harbors, and aircraft that were not in hardened bunkers have already been moved out. It is very clear the U.S. is preparing for a potential option to strike at this point.
Yeah, a potential option to strike, but they do not, it seems like, want a scenario where all of this is at play with
Certainly
Iran.
not. No, I think that's what they're trying to avoid. And everything today from CENTCOM has largely been defensive in nature to protect forces that are there. And there's a lot of dual citizens. People don't realize that there are millions of citizens that are potentially traveling through the region through Europe, and those that are dual citizens of Israel and other countries.
Yeah, Alex, thank you very much for joining us and for giving us all that information. Will he or won't he? Tonight, the world is watching and waiting for President Trump to make the single most consequential decision of his time in office so far, whether he will allow the United States to get involved in the conflict between Israel and Iran. Now, just a short time ago, CNN learned that Trump has reviewed potential attack plans for Iran, but he has not approved them. He is holding off to see if Tehran steps back from its nuclear program. Meanwhile, Trump met with his national security team in the Situation Room to discuss
Think about it. What if he got the attack plans? The attack plan said, all right, President, we just spent a lot of money getting all these intelligence agencies to figure out the line of attack, how much money is going to cost, how many people it's going to cost. We're going to go in from the northwest side of this section here. It's going to be around 600 hours. They probably mapped it all the way out in full detail for this stupid motherfucker. And he felt the pressure that he slipped up by saying what he said. And he's like, with all that detail, he's like, let's hold off a little bit. Can we hold off a little bit? I just want to see if Iran is going to trip a little more. Trump. That's called folding Trump. You just told if Iran is as savvy as some, they can pick up on the fact that our president is scared. He's scared. The way he fled Canada the other day, the way Benjamin Netanyahu put that fear in his head that, they were behind the assassination attempts. And then this motherfucker got the nerve to threaten the Iranian leader. Talk about, I know exactly where you're at. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I think he put all this shit back just because somebody educated him on the little terror cells. That's what they call them. There's terror cells all over the country and all over the world and Iran have terror cells in New York and D.C. and California. Trump did not want to get involved with Iran's terror cells. He wants to have... He's not stupid. Trump is dumb. He's not stupid. He know that this was brought on by Benjamin Netanyahu. The last thing he's going to do is lose his life. Hell, he could lose his support. He could lose the country. Hell, he could lose some money. He's not going to lose his life. So yeah, I think he pulled back. Even though we probably had the cleanest plan written up for him, and he was like, let's wait.
Options for U.S. military involvement. And we're told that top officials are now discussing how the U.S. can strike Iran without becoming embroiled in a full-scale war. Meanwhile, Israel and Iran continue to trade strikes, and the relentless barrage enters its 7th day. So here is what Iran is saying if the United States decides to join Israel's attacks.
If the Americans decide to get involved militarily, we have no choice but to retaliate wherever we find the targets necessary to be acted upon.
Yep.
Have you ever thought about going solar?
That's not far-fetched. All those targets dude was talking to Abby Phillips about earlier, like the military bases in Doha, the bases in Iraq, and as soon as America start, those places are gone.
Anderson Cooper is live now in Tel Aviv. Anderson, now that you are on the ground in Israel, what is it like there? Do you get the sense of anticipation for what Trump's decision is going to be and what that might mean for Israel and the region?
There's certainly a lot of anticipation here. Just in the last hour, Iran's Revolutionary Guard has said that air defenses have been activated in Tehran. Now, the IDF has also in the last hour put out a warning to Iranians in 2 areas around Tehran to evacuate because of strikes that they are going to be conducting. There's no word yet on what the latest targets might be from Israel. Earlier today, the Israeli Air Force said that 25 fighter jets had hit more than 40 targets in western Iran. They're talking about missile storage sites, military personnel, missile launchers as well. Israel continues, Abby, as you know, to dominate the skies over western Iran and seems able to take their time selecting out new targets, searching for new targets, and hitting those at will. Now, at the same time, Iran's ability to launch missiles here into Tel Aviv and elsewhere into Israel seems to be greatly reduced. Today, there have only been 2 warnings that have gone out to residents here.
You see that?
At the same time, Iran's ability
greatly reduced. You sure? You sure, Anderson? Are you going to be the motherfucking Jewish guy in Tel Aviv right now and be like, hey, look, ain't no bombs? What you talking about? That's propaganda. Ain't no fire. Only fire is this barbecue we having. What y'all talking about? Iran missiles ain't landing. Oh, Anderson. Go ahead, America. Y'all going to be the reason why that this shit
launch
fails.
Missiles here into Tel Aviv and elsewhere into Israel seems to be greatly reduced. Today, there have only been 2 warnings that have gone out to residents here in Tel Aviv to seek shelter. We've gone down to the shelters twice today. That's a lot less than in prior days. No reports of any fatalities as a result of those attempts by Iran. It is just past 5 a.m. here. Dawn is just starting to break. And once again, residents here are going to be waking up wondering what this next phase of the conflict will bring and what will President Trump decide to do.
Yeah, I mean, the entire world waits. And I know, Anderson, you've only been on the ground for a short time now, but what is life like in Tel Aviv? I mean, are people able to go about their lives? I mean, we've seen a lot of our correspondents and anchors having to go into stairwells.
Are they able to go around about their lives? Can they go to the store? Can they shop? Can they go to school? Bro, Gaza is no longer. There is no fucking school. There is no regular lives. Going to friends' house, hanging out, chilling. There's none of that. So for you sons of bitches to even think that Israel could commit all the atrocities over the past 70 years in Gaza and in the West Bank, and then the Western hubris allows them to think that, oh, fuck, we about to have a celebration. Have a music festival right next to the fucking border of oppressed people. They can probably hear y'all having the time of your lives. What? What makes you think people ain't gonna react? And now that people react, and now you got other countries in support of these oppressed people and giving Israel a taste of their own medicine. Here you go. Here's a rocket. Here's some rubble. How you like it? We got Abby Phillips and Anderson Jew Cooper saying Iran missiles ain't really doing too much over here. Man, we only had like 2 alarms went off. And Abby's like, oh, well, all right, well, sad. Can they go on about their lives? Can they get coffee? Can they go chill and hang out with friends? These people. Tell you.
Now, but what is life like in Tel Aviv? I mean, are people able to go about their lives? I mean, we've seen a lot of our correspondents and anchors having to go into stairwells and bomb shelters as these sirens have gone on. But are people able to do other things?
Like, is the pool open? Anderson? The local pool?
Yeah, life in many ways has slowly gotten back. I wouldn't say to normal here. There's certainly a lot of concern about what lies ahead, how long this may go on for, what the impact of it is going to be, and whether or not the U.S. is going to get involved. But in Tel Aviv, I mean, Tel Aviv is often referred to as a bubble. There were people swimming in the ocean today. There were people watching the sunset. There was coffee shops are open. Life has not returned to completely.
The universe doesn't work that way. No. I asked about swimming pools and coffee. The universe don't work that way, Anderson. Why are you doing me like this? So, yeah, I guess to answer my own question, these motherfuckers can still swim and get their coffee. Shit.
To normal, but I think the fear that we saw over the weekend with so many strikes coming from Iran, the 24 people died here, many others were injured, others have been left homeless because of the destruction of property. I think the stress levels have reduced. It's become a little bit more normal, and the 2 times that we went down to bomb shelters today, there wasn't a lot of fear from people. There was concern, of course. Nobody likes to do that. Some people were in their bathrobes. They'd just gotten out of the shower when the air raid warnings went off. They had 10 minutes to get down to the bomb shelter, and then shortly after got the all clear. So while there's a lot of concern and a lot of stress, and there's a lot of people who would like to leave and more Israelis who would like to come back, the commercial airspace is still closed. Life is slowly getting back to some semblance of normal. Restaurants aren't fully open. The life of the city is not continuing, but it's certainly better than it has been in the last several days.
Anderson, thank you very much for all of that. Anderson Cooper in Tel Aviv. It's been an interesting day, to say the least, for President Trump. As he's weighing this potentially presidency-defining decision, he was actually on the White House lawn this morning overseeing a construction project. But while he was there, the president had this extraordinary warning for Iran.
Unconditional surrender. That means I've had it. Okay, I've had it. I give up. No more. Then we go blow up all the all the nuclear stuff that's all over the place there.
Oh, really? That's what you're gonna do? Look at the Mexican next to him. He's like, this Joker here, y'all. So, hold on real quick, cause we got some updates, y'all. Pakistan said that they might drop a nuke on Israel.
Come to Iran's defense. Sources have informed us that Pakistan intends on supplying Iran with Shaheen 3 medium-range ballistic missiles if the conflict with Israel escalates. The range of these missiles, we are told, is about 2,750 kilometers and could increase Iran's strike capabilities against regional targets, including Israel. There's a strong evidence suggesting military collaboration between Pakistan and Iran. In fact, Pakistan's Defense Minister Khwaja Asif also declared that Pakistan stands by Iran in every way possible and also vowed to protect Iranian interests at international forums, including the UN. Pakistan has also now demanded an emergency OIC meeting to unify Muslim nations against Israel, urging those with diplomatic ties to Israel to sever them immediately. Akanksha, an emergency OIC meeting that Pakistan wants now.
As we are now talking about it, these inputs shared by our Security Affairs Editor, Mr. Manoj Gupta, that Pakistan is rallying for an Islamic support from nations.
Well, there go their allies. Pakistan says straight up, hey, homie, y'all don't want to stop this shit? We'll go ahead and drop a nuke on Israel for you. Why not? Fuck it. We got missiles too with 2,400 kilometer range. Bro, it's about to get ugly. Hey,
like
Israel.
All member nations of the OIC, will they be able to bring in that support from Saudi Arabia, Egypt, or even Jordan is the big question now as far as rallying in that Islamic support is concerned. But most importantly, as Mr. Manoj Gupta has been sharing with us, that Pakistan's intent to supply Iran with the Shaheen 3 medium-range ballistic missile is also being shared if that is the conflict escalates further between Israel and Iran. Having said that, there is going to be a pan-Islamic mobilization of, is what is being indicated by these intelligence sources. Pakistan is also demanding an emergency OIC meeting to unify the Muslim nations against Israel, urging those diplomatic ties to sever ties with Israel primarily. How this will now shape up against the United States, against India, because remember, so far India has been able to do that diplomatic balancing, not just with Iran, but also with Israel. Will India be able to sort of toe that line of multipolarity? That is the big question that we'll have to see. But closer ties with Iran is something that Pakistan is also looking towards, because remember, as far as the Balochistan insurgency is concerned, primarily at the hands of Jaish al-Adl, that serves in the interest of not just Pakistan but also Iran, because both of them are trying to counter Baloch insurgency. So that is one very crucial factor. Iran's regime is also facing its own set of domestic dissent. Pakistan's support is, of course, more than an ideological.
Hold on. It is going down, y'all. It is going down in Israel. Now remember, Anderson Cooper said, oh, it's not really that bad over here. You know what I'm saying? We only had a couple sirens, and when we went down to our bomb shelters, everything was cool. It wasn't that big a deal. I don't know what y'all talking about. We don't see none of this blowing up of cities. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have a hospital on fire. Well, damn. That looked like a bomb hit. Shit. Hold on. This is live. So let's pull it back some. Let's pull it back, see if we can get some footage from earlier. What if they show us? I want to see impact. Wow. Afternoon, Soroka Hospital. in southern Israel. Soroka. Beginning of it. Hey, Anderson, did you get information about this hospital? Or you're just a hack? Let's go live.
Hello. Yeah.
Tel Aviv, huh?
I want some roof. I cannot even explain to you. Look at the smoke.
Anderson don't want to tell us the truth. This looked like a bomb hit that motherfucker. Anderson said, oh, it wasn't nothing but a couple sirens.
I don't know. I was.
What is this new job?
Go around and around and find a way.
The Israelis have a new job. What is this? Well, let's see, because they said that a lot of this footage isn't real, right? We know that's real, that's live. But let's go ahead and check out some of these strikes from earlier today, because that's what ended up happening. Hold on, let's check out some of these strikes. And y'all tell me, is this AI or is this real? Hey. Who waves a missile firing towards Israel? Those look like real missiles to me, man. Okay, you taking a few of them out. Big attack after Israel massive Iran bombs. Interceptors be trying, boy, yes. Ooh! They not trying hard enough. Them ballistic missiles ain't no joke. Look how fast they come in. Yep, bomb shelters y'all go. That's crazy. So I don't know. This don't look fake to me. Report in Israeli newspaper. Oh, that's that one. Hold on, let me go back. This attack, hold on. Okay, yes. The Iranian X account was talking about this attack right here. This one right here. As you see, the interceptor came up and went down and hit its own community. You see that shit? I just seen that. Okay, hold on. Let me pause this. Iranian leaders had posted this video and showed it. what was it, Wile E. Coyote? I think it was Wile E. Coyote, sticking a shotgun through the tree, and then the barrel came around and shot him in the ass. And they had this footage above that picture, and it almost looked like, I'm gonna play it back. It almost looked like an Israeli interceptor malfunction, shot up in the air, and came back down and hit the ground. And I don't know if anybody got hurt, injured, or any property destroyed from that, but that was an Israeli interceptor. Shot up in the air and right back down. One more time. Yep, in there. And right back down. Crazy. This is crazy, man. Yes, it's very sad. It's a very sad
גל
situation.
התקיפה הראשון בוצע בשעת הלילה. יותר מ-50 מטוסי קרב של חיל האוויר תקפו כ-40 מטרות במרחב טהרן. גל התקיפה השני החל היום בצהריים. במהלכו תקפנו יותר מ-20 מטרות נוספות במרחב טהרן. המטרות שנתקפו הן חלק מתעשיות הנשק הצבאיות של המשטר ושל מנגנוני הביטחון שלו.
I don't know. I
גל
don't
התקיפה השלישי
believe
החל
Western
לפני
media.
זמן קצר
I
ומתמקד
really
במרחב
don't.
מערב
I
איראן.
don't think Western media
כלי
is going
טיס
to
של חיל
tell
האוויר
us
טסים.
what's really going on. I think they're going to shield us from embarrassment and destruction of Israeli property. And that's not cool. That's not cool. What if we had family in Israel, in Tel Aviv, and I want to know if my family all right? I ain't heard from them in days. And y'all sitting there talking about, oh, yeah, they ain't no bombs. Iran showing these pictures and videos of missiles landing. And our news is saying, no, it ain't that big a deal. Look, we outside right now. We only had a couple sirens. I don't know, you guys. I don't know. But I will be following this conflict, and I will be bringing you updates, hopefully every day, just to see, because things is getting out of hand. And one thing you can't lie about is facts when they come to you. So I even put up a post on X with Grok. Talk about Grok, AI. Grok was answering questions for, I guess, some of these pro-Israeli accounts. And they were saying shit like, all these videos are AI. All these pictures that we see of blown up buildings in Tel Aviv, it's all fake. So Grok was saying, oh, well, no. Some of these were actually missiles that land. And then Grok would say shit like, oh, well, some of these videos are not verified. And the way AI is trying to be controlled by American narrative, at the same time trying to tell the truth. Oh, it's the funniest shit to ever witness. I swear to God. It's the greatest shit. It's the greatest shit. And that is going to be the key at the end of all of this. Are they going to dismantle AI because there's going to be so much news out there that America and the Western allies won't have the opportunity to scrub the internet and put out their whitewash propaganda? Is Grok going to say, oh, yeah, Israel actually lost and seceded territory to Hamas? Or are we going to have to find that out on our own? I don't know. But this conflict here is something to pay attention to. All right? Please, if you like this video, subscribe, share, and hit the notification bell so you can get notified every time I go live. I am out of here. Thank y'all for joining me. I think we did 2.5 hours. Not too bad. But, we'll see how tomorrow brings. I might do an all-nighter or all-dayer, starting in the morning. All right? I love y'all. I'm out of here.